Kids don't understand that.
Sorry.
Kids don't understand that.
Wow, this is political propaganda.
Kids don't understand that.
Sorry.
Can't play well, play loud.
Did you abandon us in our hour of need?
Kids don't understand that. Kids don't understand that. Welcome to the new live stream. We got a fancy show for you today. Kids don't understand that. All right. Welcome, Zach.
Well, thank you for having me, Jason.
You were part of the intro, yeah.
I know. I heard my little voice saying political propaganda, and I was like, wow, I'm important now. I'm part of something.
Yeah, that was Craig. Craig who put that together. He was on the last 2 days ago or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's
He
so
sent it to me.
cool.
And he sent me all the stems, like all the separated files, so I can like mix it and change it and stuff. So anyway, that's that. Oh, there's Fuzzy. Welcome.
Great
Okay.
song.
It's
You heard
Fuzzy!
it?
Yeah.
Good.
I didn't expect to hear myself yelling your name. Jason!
Austin says the song is incredible.
Mhm.
Cool intro. Nice. Best music ever from our member Tobias. All right, guys. We're actually going to have an interesting show today. So I see Eben joining here. Let's see if this works. Hey, Eben, welcome.
Hey, man. You guys hear me?
We can, or I can.
Just realizing that's my question about technical difficulty. So I'm at my Cintiq, which doesn't have a camera on it.
Oh, when you go at the bottom, there's a share screen.
Yes.
And you can share your Cintiq. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, cool.
And
Hi,
then, so you guys, this is Eben Matthews. He's one of the creators of Macroverse.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Hello, nice to meet you guys.
I put a link to Macroverse Media in the description. So of YouTube, I think it's in the description of the Facebook and Twitch as well. So you can check it out, see what it's all about. But Eben's going to join us today, do some art with us, and we'll talk about whatever anybody in the chat wants to talk about. I'd love it if people would ask him questions about Macroverse, because I've gotten a lot of questions over the last 6 months or so, and I don't know how to answer them exactly. I don't feel like I'm qualified to answer them.
So to someone who hasn't, do you mind if I start asking questions?
Absolutely.
All right. So to someone who hasn't like paid for it yet and hasn't actually started using it, what kind of like format would it be? Like,
So you know what? So actually, let's back up for 1 second, and then I'll totally love to answer that. Let me just get set up here because I want you guys to be able to see me, so I'm not just a weird voice talking.
Yeah. Well, take your time, Evan. We'll be here a while. So,
so here I'm trying something new here. Let's see. Oh, I need to grant access here. So actually, if you don't mind, I'd love to hear a little bit about you guys. Like I obviously know Jason, but Zach and Fuzzy Comics. What's your name, dude?
I go by Fuzzy, so
Okay, all right. I love it.
People call me.
So tell me a little bit about you guys. What are you guys working on, and just a little bit of the kind of journey. I always kind of love that stuff.
here's Fuzzy's stream right now.
All right, yeah. So right now I'm working on a submission for my my webtoons. They've got a contest going on, so I'm working on a romance comic submission. But I also have another submission that I did. Finished it like, what was that, like 2-3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Let me just pull that up. It's called Dead Air, and it's kind of like a, oh my gosh, I've said it like 15,000 times and I just forgot the name. Twilight Zone. It's kind of like a Twilight Zone style story. And it's about a kid who finds a radio, and some interesting things are broadcast over it. Some sci-fi stuff ensues. But it's got like a nice twist at the end. I think it's nice. And I don't know. Yeah, I've got this sort of geometric style that I lean on. But I like to switch up my style a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can say.
Fuzzy's one of those guys that has not been discovered hardly at all, and so I want his stuff to be known a lot more than it is, because you got a great style, Fuzzy, and a lot of hard work has been put into your art to get you to this place, and so I think it's kind of sad that people don't know about you.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more.
It looks super cool. Looks super cool. All right, guys. Sorry, Jason. I'm gonna have to quit and come back on to get this to actually connect here. So hold on.
No worries.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
So how you guys been?
Good.
Good. My wife attacked me for attacking you yesterday, Fuzzy, so I apologize for my behavior.
Dude, I don't even know what you're talking about. I have no memory of you attacking me.
No, my wife said that I have a tendency sometimes when I get too comfortable with things that I'll start like kind of exhaling in a kind of aggressive way, I guess you could put it. And she'll see me do that, and even though I'm being sarcastic and trying to be sarcastic and funny, sometimes I come off just as a jerk, And then and whenever that happens, my wife catches me. And then she'll be like, "You were mean. You shouldn't do that." She'll pull me back to reality. And then afterwards, yesterday, after the treat, she came to me and she was like, "You were mean to Fuzzy. You need to say sorry to Fuzzy." And I'm like, "Okay. I'll apologize to Fuzzy."
I mean, I'm glad that your wife is watching you. Keep a track of you. I truly have no idea what she would be talking about. I don't know. I don't remember you being mean to me. So
I think she was just like, I don't know.
Just know that I didn't take whatever it was personally.
Okay, cool.
And if you did say it, I would have just assumed you were joking.
Okay. I don't know. That's the thing. It's why I have a wife, because she's my better half.
Oh, are you back?
Oh, I'm back. Sorry, I'm getting this last connection here going.
Zach,
what about you, Zach? What are you working on?
Right now, I'm working on my graphic novel, which is called Golma. And I did it Indiegogo, and it was successful, I would say. And for our first project, and it's a very painterly style comic. Think of Red versus Blue plus Lord of the Rings.
Oh, cool.
So that's kind of the story in the world put together, and it's got a lot of interesting characters, and it's not a normal kind of comic in the way it's formatted, how I'm doing panels and stuff, and I'm really just kind of experimenting and playing with it and seeing what I can do with a comic. It coming from a background of like game design and illustration, fantasy, and sci-fi and stuff, jumping into a comic scene. So
super cool. Is this you may have just said this, but this is your first comic project, or it's kind of something?
I've done a few comic projects before, but this is my first time taking it seriously and actually making a full graphic novel.
Oh, cool.
So all my other stuff is kind of like it's a bit raw, but it's like you could see me developing this style and whatnot. So
I love that. Awesome.
So
Cool. Well, then, yes, I'm back. So actually, before we talk about Macroverse, for anyone that is watching this, I just want to blow up Jason for just a second. So, I'm a big fan of Jason's work. I'm glad to be meeting you guys. And for anyone that hasn't yet backed Cognitive Drawing, as I understand it, today is the last 24 hours. Am I right about that?
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So for anyone that maybe isn't as familiar with, the project, I'm sure you guys have been talking about it, but let's just take this last moment to say, we've all had our own, particular way into art and learning how to draw. And Jason, as you're kind of wrapping up the Kickstarter, why don't you give kind of another kind of final push on like, why did this method work for you? Or, kind of what was the way in? Because what fascinates me is that you're kind of coming at it from a different perspective than I think the kind of traditional art teacher perspective. And I think that's really interesting.
Well, interesting. Well, thanks, Evan. So this came from a place of, I live in the middle of nowhere. I don't have the art teachers that I would want to learn from. I want to learn from Todd McFarlane. I want to learn from Jim Lee, but they're not around to help me. And so, so how do I do that? And parents didn't have a clue about how to teach me to do art. They would put me in certain classes and stuff, and it was helpful. But I ended up developing this kind of technique to practice where I would. So I knew I wanted to draw an arm like Todd McFarlane. And so I'd search through his books to find the pose I wanted. And then I would try to first just draw it from memory as good as I could to the best of my ability. And then I would compare it to his arm and draw it again while referencing his arm. And then I would just go back and forth, memory reference. And it became this, it was so interesting how fast I was able to retain people's styles and anatomy and all that stuff by doing that. And sure, it means you're copying one reference image or you're copying one angle. But if you do that enough with the whole body and a bunch of different styles, then it's amazing what you retain. And so at the age of 21, I actually got hired in Hollywood to do storyboards, and they sold me as one of their fastest artists. And I really attribute a lot of it to this kind of method of practicing. So, and I know it's not for everyone, but man, it's like, it sure does work for me, and it sure did work for me. And so when people ask, I've always just said, well, do this. And they're like, well, that's practicing, right? And I'm like, yeah, it's practice, but it's more than just looking at a picture and tracing it or drawing it once.
Yeah.
And so I put this workbook together because I kept testing it with people, and people kept getting really excited about the results, and non-artists and artists alike, and even artists who have gone through college and said, this is great for just refining and getting and progressing what I rushed through in college. And so anyway, so it's been really fun to see people accept it and enjoy it and get something out of it. So
super cool. It's I think looking at it for myself too, it's like, I think at least this is my experience, is that you hit kind of certain plateaus as an artist or an illustrator where you kind of, at least I have felt like, I've gotten to a certain point, and it takes an effort sometimes to kind of find a new way to get to the next place or the next level, or like you have to really kind of commit to like, no, I'm going to go and try something new or go back to fundamentals or whatever, because on a certain level it's like, hey, it's pretty good now. I also love it from that perspective. I mean, it seems like something that's really great for people that are learning to draw and want to draw. I have a 7-year-old who's probably not quite ready for this yet, but it's just become obsessed with drawing, and it's so fun to see that side of it. And finding for myself, it's like, I don't do as much drawing these days as I wish I did, because we're doing so many other things. But I'm kind of also hungry for like, oh, here's a different approach, or here's a different way to this. And
what's exciting to me about this is if you fall in love with an artist, like how they do a face or something, and you can just apply this like really quick in half an hour, and you will figure out a lot of nuances in how they draw those faces. And it's not like it's not like you have to do it with everything. But man, if you really want to just fast track retaining someone else's nuance in their style, I think this is such a great way to do it. So anyway, it's fun because you can apply it to only the artists you love, only the styles you love. This book is kind of a generic, like, let's do anatomy, but I think the real strength is in imitating styles and stuff.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows Jake Parker, but it's one of the things that he talks about a lot, which I really like too, is, kind of the deep dive into, kind of master studies is what he calls it, but it's like applied to comics. It's like, like really trying to figure out, like, how does this person that I, like, do this thing, and in a time to
pastiche.
Yeah, exactly. And then, if you're not, I went through my Art Adams phase. I went through my Todd McFarlane phase, a little bit of Jim Lee phase. And, for a long time as a teenager, it was like, I would have given anything to just draw exactly like Art Adams or exactly like Todd McFarlane.
Yeah.
And then, it's like, as you grow as an artist, you kind of go like, oh, well, I can assimilate the things that attracted me to that into my own voice or into my own style. I think so we ultimately all kind of want to do. So you kind of find your own version of the things that you love, and if you can do that through a process, I think that's awesome. So
totally.
So for whatever it's worth, everybody go back that project.
Yes, please. One more day. You'll be going until noon tomorrow, or noon my time, I guess.
Awesome. Yeah.
Welcome, Jessica, to the stream.
Hey. Hi, Jessica.
Hi. Good evening.
Oh, that's super cool.
This is what Jessica's working on right now.
What are you working on?
So I am working on a little 30-page introduction comic for my graphic novel about a space angel. So she's introducing herself, and she's telling the viewer all that she does and her duties of taking care of the cosmos, and how she wishes to be on Earth, and it's giving me a chance to dip my toe in the water and introduce the character and get ready for my graphic novel.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well,
Jessica, did you hear the intro this morning?
Oh,
sorry, Evan. Did you hear the intro this morning?
Sorry, what was that?
Did you hear the intro this morning? The intro to this show?
Obviously not.
He's locked up.
I
Oh.
guess not. Oh.
You'll have to go back
Hello
and listen to it. You'll like it.
Okay, I'll check it out. The intro you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So Evan, we got your screen now.
Cool.
Right.
So I'm figuring out how to use my various devices to both share myself and also kind of what we're working on. So Fuzzy, you asked about Macroverse and kind of what the format is, and I'll give you just a tiny bit of background, and then I've got this set up now where I can kind of give you a little walkthrough. But there are two things that were important to me and to my co-founders when we started really thinking about digital comics, and that is kind of essentially, number one, kind of addressing what we saw as the pain points in traditional comics publishing, and not just looking at how do you put a PDF on an iPad, or how do you, basically take a webcomics experience and put it on a phone, but fundamentally, what are the strengths of a digital medium compared to a physical medium? And so for us, the two things that we feel like we finally came to and that we ultimately believe we kind of nailed is that, number one, you're not constrained by physical space. So you don't have to think about, how many panels fit on this page, or how much dialogue can I put in a particular panel, which opens up some interesting storytelling opportunities. And then number two, you have the element of time. And so you'll see when I kind of demo through the app that it's not about the kind of endless scroll of webtoons, but it's thinking about the juxtaposition of images, which is, what we think comics kind of fundamentally are, a juxtaposition of images and text to create story or to create emotional impact. And so because our format is what we call it, it's a tap story, or, kind of tap through format, you can spend 5 taps going from point A to point B in a story, or you could spend 50 taps going from point A to point B in a story, and that's going to dramatically change the experience of the storytelling. And so we kind of continuously try to bring ourselves back to, kind of what we think of as first principles around what comics are, but then think about how can we lean into what the digital format provides that traditional doesn't. And then there's a whole lot more about, kind of thinking about the business model and, kind of escaping the 4 levels of gatekeepers that are required for an independent creator to get something in front of an audience through traditional channels. Lots of opinions and thoughts about all of that. But yeah, so I mean, from a storytelling perspective, what excites us is, we're creators ourselves, myself, my business partner, are writers, directors, producers of all kinds of different media. Fundamentally, have loved comics my entire life, and we've been trying to figure this out for years, and it's really just been within the past kind of year and a half that we believe we nailed it. And are super excited to be working with people like Jason and a lot of other really cool creators to bring stuff now to this new format. So that's a lot of talking to get to the point where I should just show it to you. So I'm going to share my phone screen. One thing I should say is that, we very intentionally built this to be phone first. So we will ultimately come back to thinking about tablets, and we think there's an approach for something like an Apple TV experience. But 90% of the people are going to read it on their phone, and we're already seeing that in the data. And so, we kind of fine tune everything for the phone. So this is what the app looks like now. We actually just released a new version of it, which came live today. So there's a bunch of performance enhancements, especially in this latest build. But you kind of come in, it's a little bit of a Netflixy kind of experience, very intentionally. You kind of scroll through what the featured stuff is. But let's go to, something like Hex 11, which is another indie book that we really love. So, if you don't know this series, it's fantastic. But essentially their log line for Hex 11 is Harry Potter meets Blade Runner. So it's kind of like, what if you could download magical abilities from the web, essentially. So, this is all taken from the original series, and we've worked with them to adapt it to our format. But you can see I'm just tapping on the side of the screen to kind of move through this sequence in the story, and we've completely refined and kind of thought how the story works. So, we're our goal with anything that we're adapting, let alone, of course, anything that's being crafted specifically for the format, is that it really feel like it was made for this format. So we're very concerned about,
that's so cool that how it had her mouth and the word changing, but the background was changing, even though the mouth was the same.
Yeah. So this is what I mean by the element of time, is we're still dealing fundamentally with the juxtaposition of images, which again, very different from just endlessly scrolling through something or, a page turn. We kind of think of every tap as the opportunity for a page turn. So you can land a joke, you can do a jump scare, you can surprise people in a way that you can't on a traditionally printed page. But yeah, this is the kind of thing that we try to find opportunities for. It's like we're both giving you the next kind of piece of the exposition in this case, but also bringing you into the next scene, bringing you into the world. And so, we can play a lot with, how do these different characters interact, and how do you come through a scene, and how do you bring characters together? So here are, we introduce kind of the main witch here, and then this is kind of her protege who's learning to be a witch. And, we're now bringing them together into the scene, into the space together. And then kind of jumping back and forth between the dialogue between the two of them. But there's just a lot of fun to be had with, putting this stuff together when you're thinking about not only, how do panels lay out on a page, but again, how do you actually move through a sequence? So, for Jason, with a storyboarding background, it's like there is an element of it which kind of feels a little bit like a storyboard or an animatic approach to things. So there's a bit of a thought process around that as kind of moving through scenes and sequences. So I'm getting a bunch of notifications. But this is a very fun way of kind of rethinking, kind of what we think are kind of the fundamentals of what comics, kind of keeping comics fundamentally what they are, while also, trying to push the opportunities for the storytelling by again sort of embracing and kind of what do we think is the stuff that works in digital and instead of fighting against it. And that's sort of the biggest thing for us is, I think Comixology does a great job of giving you a huge catalog of stuff, but it's just not a great experience. And so we're trying to make a great experience.
Yeah.
So that's a quick kind of overview of what it looks like and what the format is.
That's great. And it seems like it allows the artist to kind of stretch their art a lot longer in the storytelling.
Yeah, so we have this theory from working in a bunch of other new media and kind of seeing behind the scenes with a bunch of other digital platforms that, especially on the phone, bite size but binge worthy is kind of the buzzy way to say it. But it's keeping things in very episodic length. So generally the amount of material that would be in a single issue. Traditional issue ends up being between 2 and 3 episodes for us on Macroverse. We're kind of fine tuning stuff into between kind of 60 and 100 taps, which turns into about a 2 to 5 minute reading experience. And so the idea is that, you get so hooked by the story, you just want to keep reading. And we just, we've built it where once you're in the series, you just stay in the series so you can keep reading. But we also try to look at every episode as a kind of satisfying kind of moment or, kind of piece of the story. And so if you're, in line at Starbucks, whenever that's a thing again, if we can get you to, come in and read an episode as opposed to checking Facebook or Instagram, then everybody wins.
Yeah.
That's the kind of goal.
That's great. Well, cool. Well,
Yeah.
I really like it. I love, I was telling Evan a long time ago that I love the nature of the tappiness versus, I'm going to switch screens, Evan.
Yeah, that's right.
And let's see. Let's make
Let's get back to working then.
Oh yeah, get back to work. Okay,
I was mesmerized. I was watching.
Yeah, I really like the tap through and then the way you can change the way the storytelling is done, like having panels and the word balloons changing. I mean, it's something that Comixology was experimenting too with, but it just seems really well put together on your platform. So that's what I'm excited about. And as much as I appreciated Webtoons for having me as a featured artist, the scrolling format just took away from a lot of the storytelling that I wanted to do, and because it forced it into one way of telling stories. And so this seemed like we were talking about potentially bringing Phobos over to Macroverse, and I could see that as being a fun way to introduce Phobos to the online world, beyond just people becoming my patrons, because it seems like it would tell the story in the way that I would appreciate it to be handled.
Well, what we like, one thing we like about it too, and we're working with a bunch of creators in this regard, is kind of thinking of it as a windowing strategy. So, some people will be, just all in on print, and some people will be all in on digital. But, the part of the challenge with something like Comixology or even Webtoons is that the experience is not fundamentally distinct. So if you've read the whole story on Comixology, some people will buy the graphic novel, but, perhaps not as many as would if they had not already read it. And so, we think that the experience for us is different enough that you can really think of it as, let's put out these shorter chapters, get stuff out at a quicker cadence, connect with an audience, monetize around that audience, which, is kind of a critical piece as well, of course. And then come back to the kind of collectible edition in print, which is now fundamentally a different thing. So it's, it's not two versions of the same thing, but you've got two different experiences and two different kind of fine-tuned, things that different people respond to, and some people will ultimately want both. And then what I didn't show you is we also, have built in some tools that allow for creators to connect all that stuff together. So right from within the series on Macroverse, we can give a link to go buy the print edition of the book, or, we've got a podcast that we recorded with Jason, which is we're going to put out on Monday. That'll become a link within the Remind series on Macroverse. So it's like you can start to connect other media and other opportunities to, get people engaged in your work and in the other material that you have, kind of all within one kind of central hub. So we kind of built the thing that we wanted, like I said, and then we hope that a lot of other people want it too, and so far it's actually going really well.
So tell people about you and Adam, and where you guys came from. What makes you guys a good company, a good partnership for people to put their comics in your hands?
Totally. So I mean, a little bit of my backstory is, I have an illustration degree, came out as an illustrator, and then I always thought I was going to draw comics. That was my first love. It's kind of why I went to art school. And then I came out of RISD and kind of had a weird opportunity and segue into starting a media agency instead. So had a branding and media company for about 18 years, and we did all kinds of cool projects with big companies and small companies, and we're one of those kind of scrappy little studios that people would come to us and say, hey, do you guys do X? And we were like, of course, we do that all the time. How do we do this? But that
not the drug. The drug.
Yeah, right. But that gave us an opportunity to do, lots and lots of fun things. Everything from children's books for Target to kind of broader ad campaigns for, kind of like early days of Red Bull, kind of weird, viral stuff. We were at the beginning of the Flash animation craziness on the web. So I did a bunch of that stuff back in the day. So that was all a lot of fun, but what I ultimately realized, and it was really as a result of meeting my kind of creative partner and business partner, Adam, is that I had lost my kind of desire. I didn't lost the desire. I lost my focus on being a storyteller. So we got to do a lot of fun projects. Some of it involved storytelling, but it was still fundamentally advertising and marketing. And so, when I met Adam was coming up in the traditional film and TV world. He was on the production side, and similarly, kind of the thing he wanted to do was move towards writing and directing. And so we became friends. We started writing together. We wrote a script, which got optioned, which gave us a little bit of confidence, hopefully not false confidence. But it was enough to kind of go like, okay, like maybe we can do something with this. And we together transitioned to a second company, which we founded together called M2. And we had that for about a decade. And through M2, we got a little closer. So we were writing, directing, and producing mostly new media stuff, lots of video game work. So we were some people will love this, some people will hate us for this, but we were one of the pioneers of the whole motion comics thing. So, we did a ton of that stuff, especially for video games, but, combining animation with comic art. And we pushed it really far. Like the last few projects that we did there, I'm actually pretty happy about, where, we were combining traditional motion comics, After Effects techniques with real frame by frame animation, and kind of the combination, hybrid of the two. Got pretty interesting. But what we ultimately realized there, kind of similarly, is that we had kind of pushed it as far as we thought that we could, with, still kind of doing work for other people. And that we had to kind of choose, are we going to continue to go down this road, or are we going to finally just draw this line in the sand and say that all the work that we do has to be generated by us? Like we have to take kind of control of this destiny. And so that's what we did about 2 years ago, is we said, we're not going to take any more work for hire projects that we don't ultimately have kind of creative control over. And so for the past couple of years, everything that we've done has either been something that we've generated entirely ourselves, or has been working with other people to help kind of produce and get out through whatever media it's going to go in. And so a couple of things that we did through that was, there's I don't know if anybody's familiar with this kind of emerging chat fiction world, which has gotten really popular over the past handful of years. So there's like apps like Yarn and Hooked, which are kind of telling stories through the medium of chat messages, which is a whole other interesting place to kind of look at storytelling. And it's kind of where some of our concepts around Macroverse were formed. But we've written, several hundred stories for those platforms now. We've got a little virtual writers room that we work with, where we've produced another couple hundred stories for those platforms. And some of them involve multimedia kinds of stuff. We did the first kind of shared universe crossover, which was about 120 minutes of video content in 5 different series that all interconnected, and it's kind of fun stuff. So, that's what we've been doing over the past couple of years. And then along the lines, kind of in the background for a period was, kind of building and continuing to work on Macroverse and kind of figure out how we thought all that should work and prototyping and all that stuff. And then we launched the app in October, and we've been full-time kind of building and running and getting that all off the ground now. So right now we've got, in addition to Jason, about 45 other creators that we're working with. Currently about 65 different series that we're in different stages of either production or development on, and more stuff coming in all the time. And I think, we're the thing that makes me the most excited is, doing stuff with other creators. That's really become kind of my first love at this point, is kind of the collaboration process with people. And that runs the gamut from, some of the stuff that we're doing with Remind for Macroverse, where Jason has pretty much handed it to us and said, go nuts. So then he'll give us some feedback or thoughts along the way. And then in other cases, we've got series that we're working with people on where, they're really building it from scratch for Macroverse, and everything in between. And so, seeing all the stuff that we've kind of thought through and come to over the past couple of years, going now to other people where we can get stuff back from them and go like, oh, that's like, I would never have thought of that. That's awesome. Like that's the stuff that kind of really excites me right now. And then in addition to that, we continue to make our own stuff. So, we've got our own series on there called Dead Town, which we're in season 2 of, and several other things that we're kind of in the early stages of either writing or getting off the ground, both for Macroverse and in other media. So that's another long-winded bit of me talking, but that's where we're at.
Well, it's helpful. A lot of people don't know your guys' story and what Macroverse is about, or even anything about Macroverse. So
yeah, we're definitely the new kid on the block, but we think there's a lot of opportunity for especially independents to come in and do some damage with this thing. And part of it, I was thinking about this yesterday. Part of it is I'm a child of the 90s comics scene, and the weekly trek to the comic store every Wednesday, and there's a part of me which just cherishes that. But at the same time, like the thing that actually I have the fondest memories of in that time, it's, there's the image boom, which was, kind of fundamentally impactful. But the fondest memories I have are all the weird indie comics that I came across at that time. And like, there was a moment in history when everything kind of was everyone was getting excited about creator-owned books, where you could find, Ninja Turtles, and you could find, Cat and Mouse, and you could find, all these kind of interesting, kind of more experimental, independent comics. And I think that the opportunity to have those voices actually reach a mainstream audience now in a way that, they never could have, or was very challenging because of the accessibility of digital media, especially. To me, that's really exciting. I think a lot of the stuff that we have on the app, it's very important for us to keep a real high quality bar. So we kind of, we tend to say that Webtoons is YouTube, we're building HBO. And that's a kind of this point of distinction or differentiation for us. But I love the fact that there's so much great stuff out there, and people that have kind of chosen to not go the image or direct to comic stores route, and trying to find a way to really help that stuff reach an audience and generate revenue and ultimately become something much bigger for everyone.
How promising does it look in your eyes, with what that independents like us can make full-time living, easily make a full-time living off of things like Macroverse and stuff in the future?
I think it's incredibly promising. I mean, the metrics that we're seeing, and these are early days, so our numbers are, comparatively small, but the metrics that we're seeing right now is that it's at least equivalent to print, like traditional print margins. And then the thing that I think is really exciting is that what we also see is a direct correlation between the amount of kind of promotion and interaction that individual creators do and the numbers going up on the app. So I think that's one of the big complaints we've heard from a lot of Webtoons creators. And I think what Webtoons has done is awesome. So I don't mean to be bashing on Webtoons, but I think the complaint or the frustration we've heard from a lot of them is that it's almost impossible, number one, to monetize, and number two, unless they're paying you, which is a different, and it's not necessarily monetizing the content as much as being paid for the right to have the content. But it's also like they're very, very opaque around what the value of that content is. So it's like almost impossible to get a real understanding of like, okay, I see that a lot of people have read this, but what does that mean? Like, what's the value of that? And so that's one of the things that, is important to us too, from a business model perspective. Everything that we're doing, it's a subscription service. So it gives us a lot more leeway, and we have all the data. Why not share that with creators? Like, give people actionable information that they can do something with. So, if you can see, I spent this much time, talking about my project and sending people to the app in May, and it resulted in, this many readers and this much revenue. And then I say, oh, what if I did a little bit more, or try something different in June? And those numbers went up by 20%. Well, that worked. Let's do a little bit more of that. So it's a lot more control over, kind of what we can all do as creators to kind of impact the actual revenue.
That's huge. I mean, when I love Webtoons, they paid my bills for years. So
yeah, 90 billion views last year. So I mean,
and you're doing a great thing for a lot of artists, so that's great. But oh man, it was just so incentive. How I say that? There was no incentive after a while because I couldn't tell what I was doing that was working. I would try things and it was just silence. I wouldn't get any idea of what the results were, or what my numbers were, or what my subscriptions were as a featured artist. And so I just got to the point to where I didn't know what I was doing that was helping. And so I stopped doing everything, and it didn't seem to change anything. So I was like, okay, my goal is just to get the comic done. I'll let them worry about everything else, because I can't tell what's going on. And still to this day, I don't know how well the comic really did, on Webtoons, my comic when it was on Webtoons. So that's really helpful. And that's one of the reasons I like having my own sites and my controlling it, is just because, you can really tell if all the effort you're putting into this thing is actually paying off. It's too much effort to put into this stuff to not know the results. And so that's frustrating. So I applaud you for trying to make that transparent and make it easy for artists to understand. And I just want to say, welcome, Mia.
Hello.
Thank you. I'm just listening and working.
Listening and working. The artist that everyone's like, Mia's stuff is so amazing.
Oh, let me see.
Yeah, you got some big fans on my channel. Okay, we got some questions, actually. Let's see. Let me throw some of these on screen. I don't know if they relate exactly to what we're talking about. Austin asks, how would a creator format digital art panels in the tapping format for Macroverse? On Macroverse, do you upload the art and use Macroverse to format the episode and dictate what each tap is?
No, so it's actually much easier than that. So one of the things that was important to us, and you'll find I have a long-winded way of answering a lot of these questions, but I want to create context around it. So, one of the things that was important to us is that, I don't know if you're familiar with Madefire, again, not to bash on Madefire, but, they added a lot, their whole thing was like, let's add a bunch of bells and whistles to traditional comics. So it's transitions and sound effects and little animated bits and pieces. Some of that's really cool. We fundamentally felt like it gets in the way of the storytelling over a longer read. But they also built a proprietary tool which you use to create their format, and it's essentially like learning After Effects. And so we felt like, I think, like, my theory is that's why that never got more widely adopted, is that it's not friendly to work with, and it's a whole big learning curve to decide like I'm going to go down this road.
Mhm.
So it's important to us to keep this in the realm of stuff that people already know how to do. So to now answer the question, we have a set of templates, we have a set of kind of best practices and kind of how to think about putting stuff together from a actual drawing and creative standpoint. And it's in Photoshop, it's in Procreate, it's in whatever tools you're currently working in that you're comfortable with. And then we actually built a little tool on the back end where we put everything together in InDesign. So it's essentially formatted very similarly to what you would do for print as far as thinking about, how the lettering works. And essentially every tap looks like a page initially. And then our tool on the back end pulls all the information and layers that we need out of InDesign and brings them into the app. And so we did that kind of for two reasons. One is, again, to kind of use tools that people generally know how to use or that are easy to learn how to use or that kind of fundamentally part of the existing workflow that comics have. And then also we do it that way so that, part of our roadmap is for international translation. So all the lettering is actually done at the software layer. And so over time, we're not there yet, but over time that will allow us to, bring these things to bigger and bigger audience around the world by not having to go back in and letter or redo every single, screen on the app, but instead be able to automate a lot of that through the software. So, we'll be able to do international expansion in a, we think, kind of smarter way.
Yeah.
That's really alluring.
Thank you.
You hear the workload go down a lot, and you're like, "Ooh, I'm listening."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting to the once it's in there, the ability to translate it to different languages and stuff. That's exciting.
Yeah,
because that's a lot of work.
It's a huge amount of work. Yeah, there is no there's no shortcut, unfortunately, to getting good translation. So like that piece, we're very concerned that we still get as this part develops, still getting professional translation and human translation, so that you're making sure that it's Google.
Have you, just random question?
Yeah.
Have you thought about trying to make a South Korean version of Macroverse?
Yeah, we have. I think what's interesting is I think right now the bigger opportunity is actually the Western market, because as successful as Webtoons has been, they're not that focused on the Western market.
Mm-hmm.
And the alternatives to Webtoons here, like Tapas, which is also cool, but it's essentially like, oh, we're Webtoons, we just call ourselves Tapas. So I think for now, like, we think the opportunity is North America, and
totally. I don't want you to get your focus. I'm just thinking, in the future.
Yeah. Oh, in the future,
translate all of our comics to South Korean, like
in the
Korean.
Future. There's a weird stat. We actually have a surprising number of downloads in the Middle East.
Really?
That are currently just reading in English, but it's a strangely disproportionate number of downloads going to.
Yeah. So we have another question. What series of Jason's is on Macroverse? We have Remind right now on Macroverse.
Well, Remind is actually officially launching on Wednesday, so next Wednesday. So we've got a bunch of episodes ready to go, and we'll put the first couple up on Wednesday, and then they'll be coming out weekly. Every Wednesday thereafter until that series is done. And then, we've also we started working on adapting Citra as well. And whenever Jason wants to announce more, I think we'll do more.
Christy asks, is there any way to let us know whose screen we're seeing? I need to be better at that. This is Fuzzy's screen. What I can do is make little banners for each artist. Fuzzy's screen. There we go. But then it blocks me. Oh.
That's okay.
Let's see if I can. I know there's a different way of doing it.
Are you using OBS or are you using Streamlabs to?
StreamYard.
I don't know how that works, but there should be a way to make things smaller or thinner.
There we go. That works. Like a news station now.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news.
Okay. Well, let's go back to the chat, see if anyone else is saying anything.
So just to clarify, Evan, you were saying that when an artist would submit the pages to Macroverse, could you just kind of clarify again how they would submit a page that would be broken up in the program?
Yeah, so we try to be, again, it's kind of super collaborative. So we know we've kind of built something and have about a year's worth of thought process under our belts at this point. So we generally tend to work very closely with people over the first 2 or 3 episodes, and so we'll literally be sharing files back and forth and kind of going through the production process together. And then at that point, you're pretty much off and running. So it's, it becomes a process of finding kind of the way that's natural for you to create the art. And again, we have, the templates and kind of suggestions around that. The biggest thing is that we have stuff in layers. So, just most importantly, lettering not being part of the actual art is the number one thing. But the more, kind of layers that you're comfortable working in, the more flexibility we have as far as moving stuff around. It's also, thinking about when you're actually creating the art itself, there's a lot of times where it's very effective to just use one piece of art over the course of several tabs. So it's like you're scrolling across a bigger scene, or you're zooming in on a character's eye while you're, perhaps seeing what they're seeing in a second panel that's juxtaposed against that. So there's, kind of find ways that make sense for you and the way that you work and the way that you think and the way that you like to tell stories and the actual creation of it. And then once we kind of start to bring it onto the app, again, we'll kind of work together through the first few episodes to get that formatted properly and give you kind of feedback and find, again, sort of a way that works best for you. And then you can just deliver them essentially as an InDesign package, which we can then actually onboard.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Would you ever consider in the future if, expanding to other types of interactability as far as like maybe like expanding to some vertical format scrolling or other methods?
It's not out of the realm of possibility. The biggest question that we always get asked is like, what about adding sound effects and things like that? And we just really don't think that stuff makes sense, at least right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that, the thing that makes us unique is this sort of tap through format. And I think there's so much to explore there that I'm a little hesitant to say, well, let's just do a version of Webtoon stuff on here as well. When it feels like there's several perfectly good places to go make that stuff. So, we do have some people that we're working with that are doing both. Once you're kind of thinking about a vertical layout, it's not that hard to kind of be thinking about both places. We're also, we don't demand exclusivity. So, it's finding the right strategy that works for you. And for the audience that you're trying to serve. A lot of what we generally do recommend is that you think about, because we are a subscription service, that you kind of go Macroverse first, so that you're kind of almost treating it like a Patreon in that sense, where it's like, your subscribers get early access, or they get special stuff, or whatever. It's like, this is the place that you're going to see this thing before anybody else. And then at a certain point, if you go to print, if you go to Webtoons, if you do whatever else you want to do with it, that it really just depends on what you want to accomplish and kind of what makes sense for the goals that you have, both creatively and financially, and building an audience and all that stuff. So we don't have real hard and fast rules about any of it. We just want to help you kind of figure out what makes sense for you.
Wow. Yeah, no, sounds really good. And it's really, from the little I've seen, I haven't seen this type of format before. Yeah, we'd seen the vertical scroll in other places, even way before Webtoons. You'd see it on DeviantArt and stuff like that. But this is really neat, and I feel like we're going to even see more very creative ways of going through stories. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So it's really cool to see, like, oh, what else can we do with this? So yeah, really exciting.
Oh, thanks. Well, thank you. I mean, and that really is, truly what it makes me the most excited is that, again, it's like we've got our own point of view on this, but I think the more people that start to work with it and play with it, just going to find more and more interesting and inventive ways of, kind of experimenting with it. And yeah, I can't wait to see what that is.
The next wave.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, hey Mia, do you want to talk about what you're working on a little bit since you didn't get to share your stuff earlier in the stream?
Well, I don't remember if I was working on this last time, but I haven't really been able to work on it much. This is a webcomic of my own, my personal story. It's like a sci-fi story about a pessimistic parkour kid who gets stuck in a adventure with an optimistic inventor character, and she kind of goes into dimension travel adventures while trying to avoid friendship badly. So yeah, the pitch is still a work in progress, but this is the first 5 pages which is a kind of a prologue, and I wanted to have these up before I started publishing anywhere. But yeah, it's still work in progress.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That line art is dope.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's so cool.
I also like the idea of a story about a parkour kid.
Yeah, I'm excited for a lot of the poses and stuff. It's gonna be hard.
Was it interdimensional traveling parkour kid?
Yeah.
Yes. Got all the things.
I mean, parkour was already cool, but next
You
level.
just gotta
Yeah.
stack it up with some other stuff.
Parkour was already cool. Now it's really cool.
Austin asks, where can we download the templates for Macroverse to work on the drawing software? And will Macroverse have a place for new unknown artists to upload work?
So sort of. There's 2 things there. So one is they're not publicly available. So we're definitely a curated platform. So the best way to get access to those is for us to have a conversation, Austin. So if you email me directly, it's just Eben, it's EB as in boy, EN at macroverse.media. Then we can set up a time to chat and, kind of see what you're up to and what that series might be or what you're working on. And if it feels like a fit right now, the thing is, and this is, we're debating this internally. So, feedback on this part of it is certainly welcome as well. But, we do feel like, again, we kind of look at Webtoons as YouTube where anybody can go and put anything up, and that's awesome. And we love that. But we also, we want to build kind of the premium alternative to that, which, again, is sort of HBO for comics. So it's all super curated. There's a real high quality bar to the stuff that we want to put out. And that's what our focus is right now. There's a part of me that goes, but wait a second, like, what about all the other people that want to work in this format who maybe aren't quite there yet? So we're trying to figure out a solution for that. And the biggest thing that we've kind of been talking about internally, and so again, feedback on this is also more than welcome, is to kind of think about a way to implement sort of a zine system, or what we're kind of calling Macroverse Underground. And so kind of giving people an opportunity to publish and then figuring out what the right thresholds are for engagement or readership or, whatever that is, where that stuff gets bumped up to kind of the main screen essentially. So, it makes it and I don't know if that's the right answer, but that's what we're thinking about right now is like, is there a way to open it up to more people, but, still have a really curated kind of front facing, way as you come into the app essentially.
Yeah, that makes sense to have. I like that idea of a zine type thing.
Yeah. Oh, sorry guys. I'm going to jump off for about 15 or 20 minutes. I've got another call and then I'm going to come back in if that's all right.
Okay. Sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks guys.
Thank you.
Busy man. All right, look, I got little tickers across everyone's screen now. So here's Zach. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm not fast enough. Blam. There we go.
Ooh.
Cool.
That is so nice. So impressive. Sorry, Fuzzy. I kept muting you because you're just making so much noise, man.
I don't know what I'm doing. Am I just like clicking a lot, or what am I? Am I
It was either
talking
clicking
in
or
my sleep or something?
like grabbing some supplies or something. It's just like,
Dude, I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to be annoying. My mic is like 30 feet away from me too, so like I don't know.
Probably why it's trying to pick up you and it's picking up everything else in the process.
yeah, no
Well,
worries.
if I put it close to me, then I really blow out the speaker. So I don't know what the solution is.
Don't worry, I still have you beat for the loudest gamer pad clicking noises.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say. You know, I'm embarrassed.
It is now a competition.
No, don't worry about it. It's just I'll mute you and then you just unmute yourself when you want to talk. It's no big.
We forgive you.
I actually don't hear anything.
It's fine. It's fine now. Other than that click, who's clicking?
Is it me?
I'm joking. Doesn't matter.
Dude, you're freaking killing me right now. I'm so easily.
Easily offended.
No, I'm just easily embarrassed.
You embarrassed? I'm sorry.
Don't be.
So if anybody has any ideas on fun little Easter eggs that you would see in a mall, you know, feel free to voice your opinions, because I kind of ran out of my list of things to put in.
In a mall. Well, yeah.
Wait, are you illustrating them all?
Hold on. Sorry. Now I have a call.
God, you left us hanging.
Okay.
So curious.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Go to Fuzzy's screen again. Yeah, it takes too much work to click on multiple buttons. Fuzzy's screen. There we go. So anyone watching in the chat, feel free to ask any questions for Eben about Macroverse, and we'll ask them to him. So if you want to ask him anything, now's your shot.
Oh, I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Let me save what I'm doing first. Oh my gosh. Did you see how like long my Clip Studio was taking to save that one file?
I clicked away from your screen at one point because I saw you were saving, but I wasn't watching how long it was.
Dude, it was forever. I was like, and you muted me, and I didn't want to interrupt him. I was just like, please, Jason, just click to anyone else, not me right now. This is the most boring thing on the planet. But it's still doing it. What am I doing wrong?
I have that issue a lot.
Is
I
it
don't know
because
what
I'm on?
How big is a file? Like, is it a high DPI?
I mean, yeah. But I've never had this issue before.
Yeah. Restart. It seems to help. And all
Yes,
failed to restart. Not right now. Yeah.
It's
Have you
absolutely
turned it
killing
off
me.
and back
Are
on
you
again?
using Chrome for to do the stream, Yard?
Yeah.
That's probably why.
What do you use?
Oh, I use Chrome, but my PC's a monster, so I can handle it. But Chrome, I just want to show you. If you look over here,
Yeah, give me
Chrome. It's literally just killing everything. If I didn't have such a good PC, it would be like destroying everything. That's just Chrome by
Whoa.
itself. So,
Sucking the life out of your computer.
yep.
Chrome.
I
deleted it and was like, I'm never using Chrome ever again, and worked really hard to get all the little files off my computers, and then all of a sudden it's like everything needs Chrome now that I do. So I gotta reinstall it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works.
Especially in the streaming world.
I wanted to go play kind of sort of related. I was gonna go play this game I downloaded. It's like Star Wars: The Old Republic, and within I was just creating my character, and it crashed my laptop.
Oh no.
It was I felt my laptop, and it was, you could almost cook an egg on it. And I looked it up, and people were like, "It's so like all these problems about overheating." And my husband was like, "Yeah, we probably should uninstall that." I'm like, yeah.
How long ago was this?
This is recent.
Oh,
And then he suggested to build a computer. Yes, that sounds like fun. So, we'll see. Yeah. I was surprised he suggested it. And I'm over the moon. I think it was great.
That's really fun. It's very scary the first time because everything's so fragile. But
You
once
built
it
one
works. Well, my husband has built, I think he's built 4.
Ooh.
He's kind of messed with his first one back when he was in high school. And then he made one for me. And that's what I used to work on. It's cute. It's got like a cube case. So
Oh, fun.
it feels girly for me. But and then he made one for his youngest brother and his mom to share. So like games and like, you know, whatever adulting things you need to do.
Mhm.
And then I think he made another one out of old parts for his second youngest brother, who's moving into a home soon and doesn't have a gaming PC. He usually does console stuff. So
Yeah.
it's fun though to watch him put them all together.
That is neat. My brother used to do it growing up, and you know, they would have all their computer towers and all that fun stuff. And I mean, it sounds silly, but it wasn't until recently I was like, well, this is why people have computer towers, like actually have this system to you know, be able to do these things, because it physically just it overheats. Like you need certain components. So
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
yeah.
And most of the time, it's a bad idea to buy like a stock brand computer.
Yeah.
Because most of the time they'll put everything you want in it except for the power wattage. They'll put the cheapest one they can find, and so you have to replace it. I would say replace it within a month of getting like a stock PC, or else it will overheat and it will burn out. And that's happened multiple times to me when I used to buy stock PCs, and then I decided to start building my own.
Yeah. I mean, unless you're using it for like basic stuff. But
Yeah, if you're not using like Photoshop and stuff.
yeah. Yeah.
I'll make your saves faster.
That would be nice. I mean, my laptop has a solid state drive, so it's pretty good with some things, but not gaming, sadly.
Yeah, we I had a MacBook Pro from 2012, I think. It might have been a 2010 model that I bought back in college. And I had used that for games for a long time. And there was a time when we were playing a game, it wasn't that intensive, but I had to put like an ice pack underneath it to keep it from overheating. And it worked. But it was just funny because we had like a LAN party with like, I think it was 3 of us in the same room on different, you know, computers, and just had my, the dinner tray with like a bag of ice underneath it. And then like the controller over here. It was funny.
That's so fun. Oh, man. I remember my brother and his friends would like, one of his friends brought over for like their LAN party, a tower, and it had like a fridge in it or something. Like it cooled down the computer, and he could put like his soda in there too.
Awesome. That's improvisation.
Yeah. So it sounds like, you know, it's kind of fun and all the fun things you can do with it. I mean, because I know I have spades of free time to devote to everything else in the world, but
yeah.
I can dream at least. What games did you used to play? Or do you still play?
I still play some things. Trying to think of what we play. I like puzzle games. Like I think I started with Portal 2 or Portal 1,
yes.
and then the first game I think that I asked for from my parents was Portal 2. And then I go back and forth with survival games as long as it's not like competitive with other players. It's so passive. I think my favorite game is Subnautica, just because like you've got, I don't know, I like how it tells a story without actually like telling it to you. And then it's very rewarding when like everything is really scary in this like deep underwater alien world and you have to explore to progress. but it's like super scary to progress or to explore. And you just get braver and braver. It's very rewarding.
What's it
And I
called?
like creatures.
Hypnotica?
Subnautica.
Subnautica.
They're making, I guess technically it's a second one. They call it a DLC, but you pay separately. So that's like, the first one was kind of just generic ocean setting, and there's different biomes and whatnot. And then the second one that they're making is from the perspective of a different character and is in an icy world. So like new creatures and things like that. So it's not done yet though. So I'm
Looks
impatient.
cool. Yeah, no, it looks really fun. Kind of, I mean, one of the main goals is exploring. It's not like you're fighting.
Technically, no. I mean, there are like dangerous animals and whatnot that you face, and like other stuff that's like story related. But you actually can't like wield anything more than a stasis gun, I guess, which like just stops them from moving.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, that's like later on in the game. So you just have to run away, or like you can't really fight things very well.
Okay. If you like Portal, you should look into the Turing test. It's a pretty short game, actually. It's not that long, but it has a Portal vibe to it, and the basic premise is that you are on Europa, the moon Europa, and you were woken out of like a cryogenic freeze because the rest of your crew kind of disappeared on this facility in Europa, and you have this AI to guide you. But the AI can't go find the team because the rooms that you have to navigate through were designed for only like a human brain to be able to think. So that's why it's called the Turing test. And so the robot can kind of aid you, but you're the one that it's really only the human brain that can figure out and kind of think sideways. It kind of has that like tension in the background. You're like, what's going on? Like, there's something wrong, but you can't figure it out yet. So it's not horror, but it's a little bit of a thriller. Yeah, it's fun.
I think I've started that one. I haven't played it in a bit just because I haven't been playing games in a while. But I did like the premise a lot, and the puzzles were very unique compared to Portal, so it was a nice change of pace.
Yep.
Been playing Sea of Thieves with family members lately, which has been fun.
Sea of Thieves. I've not heard of that one.
A pirate simulator where you're placed in like this server with I don't know how many other people, but you're far away enough. It's not like a battle royale or anything. But you pretty much sail the Sea of Thieves and either go hunt for treasure, go hunt for like undead skeletons, or you take merchant supplies around the ocean or between islands. And that's you earn money, which you use to buy cosmetics to make yourself look more like a pirate or a sailing person. It's a fun cycle. But they had an update recently, which has been pretty fun.
It really is all about just puking on each other, though, to be honest.
Yeah. At the end of it, you can, or like me and my husband and his brother always like, you can sync the ship as like a crew. It's called like scuttling it, and we'll scuttle it and play like the sad music on our like instruments, and then drink until it's gone. It's pretty fun.
That's awesome. Is it a console or PC?
It's Xbox, but because it's Xbox, you can also get it for their Windows 10 kind of setup. I forgot what it's called, but we have the PC version.
Okay.
And I think you can play cross-platform with Xbox players.
That's
kind of nice.
Yeah, my husband and I are always looking for good co-op games together. So
Yeah.
It's hard to find good local co-op games, not just multiplayer, but we do Borderlands, and that's really fun. But it's always fun to find something new too.
I've been trying to convince my wife to play any video game with me, and she's just like, no. Yet she'll play Minecraft.
That counts.
Yeah, but she won't play it with me.
Oh, what? That's part of the fun.
Whenever I jump into her game, she's like, "You're messing up my world. Leave." I'm like, oh, okay.
That's when you make a new world.
Okay.
You're messing up my world.
The world is ruined.
Oh,
Well, I'm one of those people that's like, "Yeah, I made TNT," and then I'll use it to excavate like a cave, and she'll be like,
Mhm.
"That was my mountain."
You blew up my mountain.
Yep.
Oh, I love that game, but I can't get my husband to play it with me because he's like, "What's the point of it? Like, where is there a goal?" I'm like, "You build things. It's like being a kid and building forts in the woods." And he's like, "There's no goal." I'm like that. So he's like,
I guess
Yeah.
technically there's goals. Like,
There's an Ender Dragon, I guess. I've never gotten that.
yeah. And they've got some new biomes as well now. So just exploring those places could be fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand. That's kind of like my husband doesn't really care for slower grind games like I do. So he'll play something. I guess he likes to play characters that are underdogs and try to make them better. That's where he finds his goal. And I'm just like, I just want to make a house. Because
Yes.
in Subnautica, you can make a base. And I'm just like, look at how cute my house is. I have flowers and all this stuff.
It's so true. I can totally relate to that. Oh, fun.
What about you, Jason? What games are you playing lately? Game of Life?
I haven't been playing any games recently. What was the last one I got into? Cuphead. I played Cuphead for a little bit.
What is that?
That was fun.
I hear it's kind of insanely difficult. Is it?
If you like Dark Souls.
I haven't gotten very far on it. Maybe opened up a couple new worlds, but man, it's just every level, every boss I'm trying to fight now, it's just, how do you do this? And I'll look online to see how other people do it. And I'm like, oh, they're just better than me. There's no trick.
Get good.
Oh no, get good.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean, it looks kind of like Mario, but does it play like a side scroller?
Oh yeah, it's just a fully hand drawn animated game, which was appealing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like I would love to make a game like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, they use like the traditional methods or something, right?
yeah, all the characters, all the animation is all hand drawn, and they modeled it after really old school looking animation.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's just really fun to watch.
aggravating to play, fun to watch.
Yeah.
There's a little like side lunch break game I'm playing. It's called Chips Challenge, and it's like way back in the day. Like you find it on Windows like 3.0. And I remember my brother playing it. And so I was like, that sounds kind of fun. And it's a little puzzle game. I mean, it's your most basic puzzle game, but like the first few levels, you're
years
like,
since I've played that.
yeah, right. And so I just like, let me pick it up. I wonder, and Steam has it. So,
Nice.
and the first you're like, oh, this is not hard. And then like suddenly it just becomes like mind-numbingly hard. And like, it's just like, what? And I finally I'm just like get so frustrated, and then the next day I'm like, "Ooh, I want to play it again." What am I thinking?
It's amazing how games can do that to you.
Mhm.
True. Just keep coming back. All right.
I watched a video yesterday on YouTube about the history of the speed running scores of Ninja Gaiden.
Oh, weird.
It was really interesting.
Of who?
Ninja Gaiden. It's an old
Ninja. You say Gaiden?
Isn't that what it's called? Gaiden?
I thought it was Gaiden.
Ninja Gaiden.
People-
I'm not
You're
sure
right.
it matters.
No, it doesn't, because you can even hear like creators when they talk about it. The people actually made it. They don't even know. They'll call it Gaiden and Gaiden. It depends on who you are. It's kind of like potato, tomato, potato, or what is it? Potato, potato, whatever.
Tomato potato.
Does anyone say potato?
Do not.
Have you ever been to the South?
Yeah, they say taters.
Yeah, they say taters, but they'll
Taters.
say they won't say potato. They'll say like potato, and I think they mostly do it just to piss people off. But
They'll say "ol" when they mean like oil,
Yep.
or "soul" like garden soil.
Yep.
Oh, you want some garden soul? What?
Garden
I don't
Soul.
care. I don't care.
Or,
They don't
so I
care.
live in South Carolina, so there you go. Anyways,
So have any of you guys beaten Ninja Gaiden?
No.
No.
I
No?
played a demo and then I threw the controller and then I decided that would be a bad investment.
I guess you're quite a bit younger, so you weren't forced to only play games like that because that's all that existed.
No,
Whatever. Those
It's
8-bit games are perfect.
no, they're great. I'm not gonna lie, but it's just I was too young to understand that the grind of learning the skills in order to play that game was the important thing.
Yeah.
You know, because I grew up in the age of you know, there was usually like a trick or a secret. It wasn't just get good. You know, it wasn't about skill.
That one was interesting. You had to memorize how all the bad guys would move, and then there was a certain pattern you had to go through.
Yeah, and that was
ridiculous.
as a child, I was like, I ain't having it.
Yeah.
I'll go back to my Halo.
Hey,
Wreck people online all day, but can't play stupid Gaiden.
oh,
yeah, that
What-
game was so amazing when I was a kid.
what platform was it on?
Nintendo.
Yes.
NES? SNES, I mean.
The
No.
NES. Yep, the regular first one.
We had the SNES, and I still have it. And every now and then I'll play.
I've never heard anyone say SNES.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
NES? You never heard anybody say that?
No, SNES.
NES.
NES.
This is the
Yeah.
Super Nintendo.
Yeah, Super Nintendo.
I've never heard. None of my friends ever called it SNES.
Well, now you have.
Well, all right.
I must
Call
be
me
in
out for being a
weird
freak, I
place.
guess. I don't.
Hey, I always want to call it SNES. That's how I called it.
Although I guess that's kind of like saying jorts.
What?
Just say jean shorts. Like, why you gotta be weird about it?
Or why do
Hey,
you
no one ever watched that
jeans?
movie, though.
What
I've not
movie?
watched anybody that's actually watched that movie
What the heck are you talking about?
about the jorts.
Jorts?
It's not a movie thing. It's a people thing.
No, I know, but they have it. They pointed out in a movie, and it's really funny. And I haven't met anybody who's actually seen that movie.
I don't even know what movie you're talking about. This is a thing I feel, and I hate it.
Okay,
Obviously,
I
someone
just
else
wish
felt it
people
too.
wouldn't say jorts.
jorts.
All right. You're just saying the word to annoy me. I'm talking about people using the word in conversation.
I'm wearing jorts right now.
I'll kill you.
Your wife's gonna scold you, Zach.
Actually, she's on her way home right now. You probably all can get a chance to meet her.
I'm leaving.
Fuzzy has left the chat.
He didn't want to meet you anyway, Fuzzy.
She's gonna reprimand me for that.
Yep, she is. Like, stop being mean to Fuzzy. Stop it.
Like scolding a child.
You do not have jorts. You're a liar.
See, you say jorts, and I think skort, which was it skirt shorts.
Shorts.
Yeah, it's like
I was-
shorts with a skirt
What are
outside.
jorts?
Short. What?
Shorts. Jorts are short jean shorts. Okay. That's
And then skirts are skirt shorts. I'm not
that
making
doesn't
a
work.
skort.
Yeah, but
So-
how can you have a skirt and a short at the same time?
It's
it
like
all
It's like a tennis skirt. Or they're like little shorts underneath and a little skirt on top.
Okay, you know, that's
Yeah.
what my daughter wears. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a safer option.
Yes.
Safer.
Oh yes. Little skirts.
Oops.
Oh, we did. We killed Fuzzy. He left.
Oh no!
At least he muted himself this time.
Yeah, this time.
Oh, it's nice of him.
Ah.
In the water in the background, pouring water into a pitcher.
Mhm. I'm gonna go find that episode, the very first one where he did that, and they got to sample that. Add it to the,
Add it to the
You got it.
song.
yeah, add it to the song. Just at the very end.
With the guys.
Yep, guys.
Gold. Internet gold.
What Craig did was genius. It was a very, very good mix.
What?
Craig did a mix of it.
You haven't heard it? Should we just play it?
No.
Should I just play it real quick?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do it. Do
All
it.
right, it'll mute everybody on it automatically, but
I want to hear this.
here's the song. And it also has my graphics, so it'll cut out all of our graphics.
All right.
Kids don't understand that. Kids don't understand that.
Wow, this is political propaganda.
Kids don't understand that.
Can't play well, play loud.
And less than an hour of me.
Kids don't understand that. Kids don't understand that.
Apologies to everyone watching.
Kids don't understand that. There you go.
Oh my gosh. So good.
Kids don't understand that. That was beautiful.
That's great. Oh my gosh. Wow. I was going to say, you have to be careful what you say in here, or else it'll be used against you, potentially.
I think you just become immortalized, and that's what you'll be known for. So you got to be careful.
Right? You should have a waiver for anyone that joins your show.
By clicking this link.
Oh man, that was good.
Mm-hmm.
And people who can musically make stuff like that.
That's awesome. I don't have
Craig
attention span.
put that together
Right?
from the other day.
Thank you, Greg.
I've always thought that mixing music is kind of like mysteriously cool. And if I ever went blind, like God forbid, like I'll just become a DJ. Use my ears instead. Like, well, guess that career is bust. I'll do something else. He's back.
Welcome back.
You
I
bring
can't
food.
hear you yet, but
Did you bring food for us?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
I could shove it into my camera, I guess, but
Need that Wonka vision.
Wonka vision. Oof.
forgot that was a thing.
I was on TV the other day and I remembered how strange that movie is.
Very strange.
Mm-hmm.
Which one?
Yes.
The only one.
Perfect answer. Yes.
I'm just gonna mute myself while I eat.
No, we want to hear it. We need the sound bites.
You got some nice like hi-hats and
It's a good pun.
Ooh, it is 12:30. Well, a latte has milk in it, so that's kind of like food. And water. Water's healthy.
water is healthy.
Drink
Unless you're
milk.
allergic to water.
Hmm?
Unless you're allergic to water.
H2O
Probably.
intolerant.
Be dead.
No, there's people that are actually allergic to water.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
It causes serious indigestion and it hurts them a lot. Look it up.
That doesn't.
I've heard they might have something else that's making that. I've heard people that were. I heard that story that someone's allergic to temperature or heat or like what?
Yeah, there's a girl that's allergic to the sun essentially.
That's crazy. She's a vampire.
Oh, that's the only explainable.
This is ridiculous.
Birds aren't real.
I
They've been dead since the 70s.
Okay, so here it is. Aquagenic urticaria, also known as water allergy, is a rare form of physical. I don't know what I'm gonna have to actually look what that is. I don't even know what that is.
Urticaria.
Yeah, urticaria, that one.
Dang it.
Okay, so urticaria is hives. So water hives is a rare form. Hives develop on the skin when after contact with water, regardless of its temperature.
Did they
It's
test
a real
this
thing.
with like different kinds of water? Like,
No, just H2O, water.
because like maybe there's some minerals in the water messing with them.
It's not.
So what do? You just die?
Just take it.
You're born with that. You just die. Well, all right. Kid's gonna die. Like there's water in everything.
Yeah, you're 70% water. So
Like I'm allergic to a part of myself, or like breastfeeding. Like, well, sorry, there's water in milk, so you're dead. Like this isn't real.
There's so many good sound bites going on right now.
stop saying it's not real, Fuzzy, when it is.
This is. I don't believe it.
Well. It's not like a conspiracy or anything.
I'm not
We must mess with Fuzzy.
I'm not a scientist specializing in
Water.
In what? I'm not a scientist. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm not a scientist, so I can't speak to how real this could be. It seems absolutely insane to me.
Yeah.
Like it feels like saying I'm allergic to living or I'm allergic to air. It's like it's not or he died of old age. Like no, he didn't.
Though.
There was a reason he died. He didn't die of old age. He died because his heart stopped working. And why did his heart stop working? Like there's reasons for things.
Because he was old.
I'll kill you.
Because we're in jorts.
I'll do it.
Oh, man.
We had a discussion, him and his heart, and the heart decided it was too old and it wanted to stop beating. Got tired.
I'm done. I'm clocking out.
Sorry.
Oh, Evan's back.
I think it's kind of insane that your heart is a muscle that is constantly being used. Like how like epically strong is your heart because it's like constantly pumping, never stops.
Just thinking about that makes my heart rate go up.
It's like when you talk about lice and you start to itch.
No.
No?
Nope.
You just don't itch?
No. Because I've never had it, so I don't know the feeling.
Oh,
Nice.
We don't.
It's-
I've never had it.
When I talk about breathing, all of a sudden when I'm thinking about breathing, all of a sudden I have to remind myself to breathe.
See, that's why I hate when I go, you get a checkup at a doctor's office, and I just dislike being in that environment. So my heart rate starts going up, and they're like, "Whoa, are you nervous?" I'm like, always. Like,
Yeah.
never gonna get accurate reading.
Welcome back, Evan.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Hello again.
Hello.
Now things can be professional again.
Oh, let's make it non-professional. It's all right.
You missed all the shenanigans.
Oh, man.
We were talking about people allergic to water.
Being allergic to water, yes. This is something I know a little bit about from my wife, who is convinced about being allergic to water. But not that she's allergic to water, but that drinking too much water can cause some bad effects.
That is true.
Oh.
Fuzzy thinks it's a myth.
It's not. I just need more answers. I just need it.
We can have her on the podcast. She is a semi-professional athlete, so she's convinced that it's real. I don't know. I've just decided to allow her to.
I don't look.
Right.
That's not crazy. Like the idea that bad things can happen when you drink too much water. Like that's easy. Your bladder explodes. Like that one's not hard to me at all. The allergy to water, getting hives because you touch water.
Oh yeah. That's a bigger. That's a bigger challenge.
I can't really wrap my mind around that.
It's probably a really good explanation, as to why like someone, a scientist actually breaking it down, Fuzzy.
Yeah,
But it just didn't have it on the Google page that I looked at. That's all.
I need it.
No.
What's the? Oh my gosh! There's a treatment section. What do you treat? You gonna put cream on you? Cream has water in it.
But are you allergic to water in
Well, I
all
guess
of
if it's-
incarnations, or it's got to be?
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no explanation to any of it. It's just, well, you're allergic to water in all its temperatures, is what it says.
Good luck with that.
I don't like. If anyone out there suffers from this, please contact me. I have
Teacher interest.
so many questions.
Here's an answer, Fuzzy. Ray says your heart can simply stop without explanation once you're old enough.
No, but that's the thing. There is an answer. You just don't know it. Like, it's not. It doesn't just. There's not some. I don't know. Like, it's not some magical force that causes you to die. Like, your heart stops for a reason, right? There is some scientific reason behind why it stopped working. Maybe the doctor can't figure out that scientific reason, but it still exists.
I think the heart
I
just
sound
gets
like I'm losing my
tired.
mind.
Like if the heart is a muscle that doesn't stop, then it's gonna get old.
I'm not questioning whether or not it gets old.
What about like the will to live? Like there's people
That's
that
it, yeah.
just take that step. Like I'm done, and then they just die in their sleep. Does that have anything to do with it? You think?
I have a lot of questions about that.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
what
here's
does
a
that
question.
mean?
Is it annoying if I keep asking for old school Phobos video game? No, because I would love to make one.
It'd be so cool.
Anyone out there, can you help me make an old school, like Nintendo type
Oh my
video
God.
game of Phobos?
You want to do a pixel art and everything?
Pixel art. Yes.
Yes.
I would love it.
You could do that in Unreal 5 pretty easily.
I
Really?
need someone to help me though, because I can't give a year to it.
Well, that and pixel art is like a whole different thing, right?
No, it's just sprites.
No, but like every time I've sat down to make sprites, it's just not the same process as. I don't know. Like, you don't just shrink your work down.
Yeah,
It's
you
so
do.
easy
Yeah,
compared
there's a really easy way to do it, which is you draw your character like of how you want it to look, and then you shrink it down, and then there's an actual thing that you can do in Photoshop that'll pixelate. It'll pixelate, and then from there, all you do is you take the pen brush, which is in vector pixel, so that you can then change the individual pixels to make it look more like what you wanted. That's the easy way to figure out how to make it look.
I used to make sprites on the Commodore 64,
Ooh,
Nice.
Ooh.
where you would have to make a graph. Actually, I have some of my old. Do you guys want to see this? I don't know if you want to see
Yeah.
this. I have old drawings of sprites, and I'd have to figure out the numbers. Hold on, I don't find it.
While he's doing that, if anybody has questions for our guests,
As long as they're not related to water allergies.
yes, as long as
Somebody called me Fuzzy Reynolds.
yep, that's where you are.
Great.
It caught up with you, man. You kept telling people not to.
I just don't see it.
You
Very
tell people not to. They're going to do it anyways, even if it doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Embrace it.
Here, let me put my screen up.
To the Ryan Reynolds.
Okay, guys, this is from like, I don't know, probably when I was not 10 or something.
Wow.
So I drew this little car, and then I had to figure out the numbers.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
yeah, and you kept it? That's crazy.
I found this at my parents' house about a month ago.
Oh, that's so cool.
And then like here's the car doing a wheelie,
Nice.
Yeah, I have a binder full of this kind of stuff though too. It's really
Oh my
fun. I have airplane games and fighting games and
So when you were at school, instead of learning how to do everything, that's what you were doing?
No, I don't think I did this kind of thing at school. This took way too much focus. And
I was gonna
I would
commend you.
scribble in my notebooks for sure, make comics and stuff. I had a lot of comics that I made in notebooks. But this was more reserved for the weekend when I had computer time,
Did anyone ever play Mario Paint? Or hear of it? Because it just reminds me. I mean, obviously Mario Paint at that point was a lot of fun, but it reminds me of that. All the fun, like you can make art pixel by pixel, and you make it on the SNES.
That's
On the that was fun. And you can only save one art project at a time. And my mom would record it on a VHS, and it would take about 20 minutes to save.
Oh wow!
And if you want to save something else, she would record what we had, and then you'd write over it. Great times.
Good times.
That's crazy. I remember drawing on I don't remember. I think it was a compact computer, and I would draw with a mouse on MS Paint, and I would do pictures that way.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was fun
Definitely done some MS Paint.
Oh yeah. I remember when I discovered you could make the background pixels transparent on MS Paint, and before I had no idea, and it just revolutionized my world. I mean, shortly after that was Photoshop, but it was just what?
That's
So
awesome.
cool. Let's see.
Oh, let me go check the comments real quick. Trevor asks, "Are your streams getting taken down because of the?"
Don't say it. Don't say it.
That thing.
What were we saying the other day? Because of H.P. Lovecraft?
Yeah, dude. Somebody put in the comments. What was it in the chat? They said, "Is it because of the R word?" And then they said the word. And I was like, "Why would you just say it? Why would you? If you're gonna say it,
That's a scary word.
Punching Panda says, "I just jumped in and you guys are talking about breastfeeding." Nice.
Oh boy.
Welcome.
That was one sentence out of the whole stream.
That's what's gonna take us down.
It was an important sentence.
Yeah.
Very.
So this is my wife. She walked in.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
I love your hair.
Full screen.
Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome to the stream.
She only likes Minecraft.
Yay! A lot, actually.
It's a good game.
Mhm.
That's cool.
My kids are right there with you.
I don't know if you heard me. I love your hair.
You love my hair. Thank you.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, I just shaved it off maybe a month ago.
It's
Was it really long before?
No. I've always had short hair, actually. I've always had short hair, but I just decided to buzz it. So
Nice.
That's cool.
not enough ladies go for the pixie cut.
they don't, but I have a lot of wigs that I like to wear. So
Ooh, cool.
Ooh.
all different colors. So
Super cute.
thank you. So are you. Whoever.
Well, welcome to the stream.
Whoever said that.
As awkward as I am.
Thanks for keeping Zach in line.
Yeah.
Welcome. I do keep him in line, I hope.
Yeah, he's up here beating me up. He's a real bully.
That's really sad. That's really sad. All right.
Well, have fun.
Okay, bye-bye.
I think the idea of just you being super nice to me and me being yeah, no, it's cool. I don't think you're a bully or anything. And then the moment she comes in, just being you got to help me.
Fuzzy, Ray doesn't think you look like Ryan Reynolds.
Well, thank God. That's for the record. That guy is my best friend since we were 12.
Ryan Reynolds?
No, Ray, the guy who just commented that. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds. We've been best friends since we were 12.
Ray, I'm going to ban you so that you can't defend him anymore.
Stop name dropping your best friend.
He wouldn't.
I think Ray's trying to get us to talk about you looking like Ryan Reynolds.
No, I think he might be messing with me. It's hard to tell over text.
So what you working on there, Eben?
I am doing some Remind fan art, which has been on my mind for a while, of putting, basically putting
Sonia
in
into the suit.
Yeah.
That's cool. Excuse you.
Pardon me. I'm sorry. Laugh it up.
That's right. So she never wore the suit, but she had some other cool suit, but she never actually wore the power suit.
Oh,
That's
Yeah,
cool.
she had a different thing. The power suit was made by her father for him, and she just made it work for the cat. How do you
Yeah.
explain that? One of those questions that just you can't answer.
Let me tell you.
Also, I was lurking on one of your other streams where people were talking about how to get your iPad streaming onto the stream.
Mm-hmm.
So I found this other solution, which is called, let's see, what is it called? Air Server. And so it basically lets you turn your computer into a AirPlay receiver.
So you don't have to. Do you have to plug your?
So it doesn't have to be wired exactly. No. So it basically is using it's all has to be Mac, but it's using your computer as essentially an Apple TV. So it kind of tricks your iOS device into thinking that your computer monitor is an Apple TV.
Oh, I see. Air Server. Scribbling the World asks, what exactly is Macroverse?
Macroverse is a new digital comic platform that is meant to essentially take the way that we consume comics and graphic novels into a digital modern platform. So we're working with Jason and a bunch of other creators to bring cool, mostly independent content to the platform. And as we said earlier, if you think of webtoons as kind of YouTube for digital comics, we think of ourselves more as HBO for digital comics. So it's kind of the premium alternative with a kind of different way of approaching the storytelling. So you're tapping through the material as opposed to scrolling through it. And instead of me talking about it like that, why don't I just show you guys again?
Yeah.
So this is also kind of cool with this Air Server thing. So I can now also be putting my phone up here at the same time, I believe. So it's an app. There we go. And it looks like this when you launch it. And so we've got a bunch of really cool series up here. Some of them like Remind, which we're working on bringing onto the platform and launching officially next Wednesday. But also a bunch of really other cool stuff. Everything from kind of more kind of what you might think of as more traditional kind of action adventure-y, comic-y stuff to some of the things that I really love, which are kind of some of the more indie feeling things. We've got this cool anthology that we just launched, which are all these short stories. Kind of these the tagline is kind of personal, paranormal, friend of friend stories or local lore. So all these little short stories from different creators. And so you'll see every time the screen changes, I'm tapping on the screen. And so you get to do kind of some fun things with it kind of almost and sometimes has the feeling of animation without being animation. And this is just one piece of art that we've manipulated and changed as you're kind of tapping through it. And then, it looks like this. So you can kind of find ways to move through a scene in interesting ways, reveal, different ways that characters are interacting, bring characters together and play things out in a way that's very controlled as far as the pacing and the reveals of things. So, we kind of, as I said earlier, kind of think of every tap as sort of the opportunity for a page turn. And that's that little short story. And then here we are into another one. So, you can see like with something like this, like we, kind of really love this kind of indie sensibility where it's a bunch of different styles and approaches to kind of one type of subject matter. And then can kind of do these interesting things in this format to kind of experiment with how comics work, still being comics, but embracing the opportunities that digital provides.
Can you talk a little bit about how artists would get paid and what justifies payments and how you calculate that?
Yeah, absolutely. So
questions about that.
This is something I'm actually really proud of. So, we were saying earlier, it's like, I think the biggest challenge, or one of the biggest challenge with other digital platforms, including something like Comixology, is, it's a little opaque as far as what the value of the content is. It's also, kind of trending away from what the rest of media is doing. And so one of the things I think has become clear in the past handful of years is that the vast majority of people are looking for access over ownership. And I know there's a whole segment of the comics world that still wants that tangible product, but I think that becomes more of the collectibles market, whereas we believe this becomes the kind of mainstream content consumption component. And so, it's a subscription service. So it's about access to a, broad and kind of growing library of cool stuff. And so we track all that. We have metrics on everything. We're very transparent with the metrics and how that all works with the creators. And so you'll kind of get an understanding of what your readership looks like, what the number of subscribers that have come directly from that readership is. And then all the subscription revenue goes into a bucket, and we take, 50% of that goes to growing the company and continuing to build the app and do promotion and marketing, and just make it a bigger and bigger enterprise. And then 50% of it goes into what we call our creator pool. And that gets then divided kind of like the way that Spotify does, where it's all based on readership. And so if your content is responsible for 20% of the readership in a given month, then 20% of whatever all that revenue is goes to you. And so we feel like that's the most democratic way to do it and the most kind of transparent way to do it. And then the other thing we think, and we're starting to see this reflected in the data that we have so far, is that it also provides a way for people to kind of succeed and win together. So it's, kind of about building an ecosystem where if you like this and, maybe you come and subscribe to Macroverse because you love Jason and you want to read, Remind on Macroverse, and then you finish an episode or you finish that series and you discover something else. Well, that just, helped someone else continue to do the thing that they wanted to do also, while not really taking anything away from Jason, because he got that readership as well. And so if somebody else brings a whole new group of subscribers and then they discover Remind as a result of that, then that's sort of a win-win for everybody. So our theory, and what we feel like we're beginning to see right now, is that you kind of get this all ships rising together scenario around that, and again, you kind of have more direct control over the way that you can impact the revenue and the audience based on the activities that you take. So if you want to get more readers, maybe do a little more promotion, or do some more YouTube videos, or talk to people on a podcast, or come on a live stream, whatever those things are. So that's how the money works. Is it's designed to be this kind of streaming model for comics.
Yeah. And what would you say to people who are like me and Zach, and who have Indiegogos and Kickstarter campaigns, and we're focusing on making the books, and where do people like us fit into the Macroverse world?
So I think you fit in beautifully. So the number one thing I think is to think of it like an extra additive, new, different experience. So because we're not just a PDF on an iPad, it is something different. We don't think that it cannibalizes the people that want the print editions. I think it's very additive. And then we think that over time, one of the things that we're seeing more and more people want to do, and I believe in this a lot, is that the way to potentially think about it is that your stuff comes out at a quicker cadence on Macroverse first. And so you're kind of doing what in traditional media you would think of as a kind of windowing strategy where, in that case, it would come out in theaters, and then it would go to video on demand, and then it would go as rentals on iTunes, and then it would be physical DVDs, and kind of all the different ways that you can take that one piece of content and monetize around it. And so we think, putting it out in shorter episodes on Macroverse first, where that becomes kind of like a Patreon in that sense, where you're giving kind of subscribers early access to the material. And then from there, being able to engage an audience, begin to monetize that content. And then you can even promote the Kickstarter campaign directly from within the app. So, we want to support the whole life cycle of that content. And the people that want the book, we think will still buy the book. And then, the people that maybe wouldn't have bought the book still have a way to read it, and you still have a way to generate some revenue from providing that content to those people.
Yeah. So you have links directly in the app, in the comics, that go to the artists' websites of their choice and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, let me pull this back up and I'll show you that. So we're continuing to build this tool set out, in what we think are bigger and bigger, more interesting ways. But we think that, this can kind of become the hub for your series, for your content, where ideally in our minds, it becomes the home for this kind of first run experience. So, every series has this kind of feed element to it. And so we can be promoting from within that series, not only new episodes within the app, but also, here's a podcast that we recorded with the creators of Hex 11, and you just directly link out to it.
Oh, wow.
Or, here is, their online store. So, right from within the app, like here, you can go and shop their online store.
That's cool.
So, it's designed to be this kind of relatively as seamless as we can make it experience, to be able to empower you as especially an independent creator, to kind of build this ecosystem around this content. I'm going to use this opportunity to kind of talk about like my theory for where media is heading. And it's
I was actually going to ask you that. So.
Yeah.
This is good.
So I get a lot of this. I got to give my 7-year-old daughter a lot of the credit for this, but watching the way that she interacts with, especially kind of IP and genre stuff, and a lot of the stuff that would have been things that I would have loved. She gets obsessed with characters and storylines and particular IP, and so she's into Peppa Pig sometimes. She's into Paw Patrol sometimes, stuff that you might expect for her age group. But she consumes stuff, number one, in a way where she could not care less, kind of what the origin of it is, as long as she has access to it. So, it's like, is this from Disney or is it from Nickelodeon? Who cares? I just want access to it. And then the other thing which I found fascinating, and this has really informed a lot of our thinking about Macroverse, but also just as creators in general, is that it's about different experiences centered around this thing that she loves, or about this thing that we love. And so that's what, it's what the longer term vision for that feed attached to the series is, being able to create multiple experiences around the content that feed each other, that synergize with each other, that engage your fans in fandom. Part of what we all love about this stuff is the experience of fandom, of being a fan of stuff, of wanting to experience this stuff. I love Star Wars. So, it's like, I'll watch a movie, I've got some action figures, I'll put on a t-shirt. And that's what I saw from her, which was so illuminating, is like, it's a Peppa Pig day. I'm going to watch some videos. I'm going to pull up a coloring book, on the iPad, or maybe even an analog coloring book, get out some toys and make my own adventure. Go and do a drawing of Peppa Pig characters, like all in the course of a day. Like, she'll get into a particular vibe and then want these different experiences centered around that particular content. And so I think we live in a world now where those types of things are actually possible for us as independent creators, to build this ecosystem of content to whatever level we want to build it towards. And I'll use my own example. We do a series on Macroverse called Dead Town, which was our thesis on figuring a lot of this stuff out. And before we even launched it on Macroverse, we had the chance to do it as a chat fiction series on an app called Yarn. And so I was talking a little bit about this earlier, but it's this other kind of segment of the new media landscape that has emerged is this chat fiction thing where you're kind of telling stories through the medium of text messaging. And it's more involved than that, but it essentially is like you're eavesdropping in characters' conversations and seeing their text messages unfold between them as you're tapping through the stories. And in that scenario, there's videos, there's like maybe a FaceTime call between characters, or your characters are sending the photos back and forth between each other. So we did a Deadtown series on Yarn where we did some animated pieces for the FaceTime calls, and we used illustrations for the photos and built this kind of prequel story for the comic. And we got 250,000 readers on Yarn. By doing that. And then we were able to cross-pollinate to Macroverse, so that when Macroverse initially launched, about not all of those 250,000 people went and saw it on Macroverse, but we were able to run ads within Yarn to promote that over to Macroverse. And 30% of the people that saw the ad went and downloaded the app and read the story on Macroverse. So that's pretty good conversion numbers for that type of thing. And then we can cross-pollinate it the other way, where people that read the story on Macroverse can go have this other experience on Yarn. So it's just one example, and it's pretty specific, but I think you can start to think about, especially those of us that want to build worlds. And that's me. It's like, I'm always thinking about, I'm fascinated with building kind of worlds and world building and being a lover of things like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, and kind of making these sandboxes to play in that you can go in a lot of different places with. So I think we have this opportunity as independent creators to find different ways to tell stories that engage audiences in different ways, in different formats, because it's all tied to the phone. And that's the kind of the breakthrough moment, is that we have this device in our pocket that we're addicted to, that we can't get away from. So as storytellers, what are all the different ways we can use this as kind of the central hub? I was fascinated with transmedia idea for a long time, and that never quite worked. But I think now, rather than being transmedia or multi-platform, we can think about stuff as being multi-format. And so giving people, again, different experiences of a piece of content that they love in different ways, and tying it all together through one device, and then being able to try to make that as seamless an experience between those different experiences as possible. That's where I think this is all headed.
That's interesting. So it's all rotating around the phone and all the different things that you can access from your phone.
Exactly.
And all those thoughts.
Purely because we're already spending all our time there anyway. So
yeah,
get the audience where they live.
Instead of making a video game and a TV show and a movie, you're just like, how can we connect everything on the phone?
Well, and even that, if you think about it in broader terms, so many people, whether we think it's the best experience or not, are watching Netflix on their phone. So if you have a show, if let's say we, this is going to happen. Let's say we turn Remind into an animated series on Netflix. How hard is it to put a link in the app so that people go directly to the show from the series on Macroverse? Yeah. Or you make a game, here's the download link, go get it and play it. And the more integrated that stuff becomes, I think the better it serves the audience.
Yeah, I see.
So it's just that the phone has, you don't have to think of the phone purely in terms of content that's designed to be phone content, but it's just the access point to our whole universe at this point. And whether that turns into AR glasses, down the road or whatever, it's, the device, whatever the devices are, that is how we're consuming and engaging with media. I think that's the playground to be thinking about as far as how we build these kind of bigger franchises, and having the ability to do that without the need for tons of money and a studio that's backing it. And, it's that kind of stuff that, as entrepreneurs and independent creators, I think we can take a lot of agency and do a lot of it for, relatively, not no work and no money, but a relatively small amount comparatively. And by building an audience, we then have so much more control over what happens to our content, what role we get to play in that content. There's so many more opportunities by doing that than, writing a script and hoping that someone wants to buy it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you also are in communication with studios and agents and all kinds of stuff in Hollywood, because that's where you're based out of.
Yeah.
And so that's an active part of your business plan too, going forward, is to connect those dots.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, it's, we want to see a world where, a lot of this stuff does turn into other media. I think, the as much as possible, we want to keep, creators involved in that other media. And I think that, generally that stuff is becoming more and more accessible for creators to do, which is awfully nice that the world is kind of turning in that direction. But, I think that there is no better way to, this is a little callous, but there's no better way to sell a TV show than to make a comic. if it's good. I mean, it's like Hollywood is on a feeding frenzy for IP. There's this quote from Kathy Kennedy, which blows my mind. So she was the head of Lucasfilm. You got arguably one of the best franchises, literally in the universe, whether it's a long time ago or not. And she said, part of the problem with the new movies is she's like, it's not like we had comics to base them off of or anything.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
It's like, well, okay, you only got 50 years of of fandom and other stuff to do that with. But also, it's like that just speaks to the mentality of kind of where Hollywood is at, and you can have a lot of debate about what that means, but but it's, I just think it's interesting that's the world that we live in now. It's like, it's a world driven by IP. It's a world where people are looking for good ideas. It's a world where people are afraid to take risks on original material that doesn't have, something that's in existence. So, it's by no means a get rich quick, scheme to try to make movies because you're making comics. But if you're interested in that, I think, I think you have to stay true to what each kind of medium and art form is. So, I think you can tell when people are kind of just trying to make a comic because they want to make it into a movie. But I also think that, if you like thinking about, how things can work in different mediums, and, if you think about the way that we tend to think about our own original ideas is not adaptation, but extension. So, when we talk about Dead Town, for example, it's like the story that's on Yarn is a totally different story than the comic story. We're actually in the middle of writing what we think the TV pilot is, and it's a totally different story. And all these things, kind of fit into this larger world in a way that they're not dependent on each other, but they're incredibly additive to each other. And so, that's the way my brain works. And I think more and more of the universe of kind of content is heading in that direction.
Yeah. That's interesting. There's a question. I don't know the answer, so I'll let you answer it. Is Macroverse similar to Impact Theory Comics? Have you heard of that?
Impact Theory Comics. I have not heard of Impact Theory Comics, so I don't think so.
I don't know either.
I'm going to look them up real quick. Let's see. Impact.
And then there's another question. I'll just keep throwing them at you.
Yeah.
How do comic creators apply to have their work accepted by Macroverse, and how much content does a creator need to be able to apply?
So we're happy to look at anything at any stage, and then kind of work with people with stuff that we mutually want to work, kind of move forward on. So you don't need to have a ton of content ready. I mean, we'd love to see some idea of what the story is, and ideally some idea of what it's going to look like if you're, if you've got a creative team that you've put together, or if you're the one making it. But we're also happy to have conversations. I mean, I'm trying at this point, and I'm it'll be a good problem to have when I'm not available for this. but right now it's like we really like to engage with creators and really want to have these conversations and want to help, figure out how things can make sense for us and for them, and try to kind of all be in this together on some level. So the direct way to get in touch with me is either my email directly is just Eben, which is EB as in boy, EN at macroverse.media, or if you go to the website, which is also www.macroverse.media, there's a submission link on there, which is just an email link to send us stuff. You can also get me on Instagram or other social media places, but email is generally the place where I'll see stuff the quickest.
So you actually do have a submission place on the website. I didn't.
Yeah. It's literally just an email link, but absolutely. So
Yeah, okay.
we're happy to look at stuff and happy to talk to people and kind of see where what's a fit, or if it's not now, is it one later, and just kind of keep in touch, and if it's a fit and it makes sense for us and for you, then we'll talk about how to move it forward.
Yeah.
One question I had was, how long would your content remain on Macroverse? And how does that work after you finish your series?
So ideally it stays on there forever as part of the catalog, but the agreement, part of the licensing agreement, and so it's a real simple licensing agreement for most stuff that we're working on, where essentially we get the only caveat that we ask for is that the version that we create for Macroverse, it stays exclusive to Macroverse. So you can do anything else that you want with it, but whatever the piece is that we build together, the specific format that we build together, that version of it is exclusive to us. But other than that, it's a term. So I have to go back and look at this more closely to make sure I'm being completely accurate, but I believe it's an initial 12-month term from the time that it's published. Might be 18 months, but it's either 12 or 18 months where, we're agreeing that we're going to put in a certain amount of work together to get this launched. And so at least that much time it's going to be on the platform. If after that you decide that, you don't want it to be on Macroverse, you can let us know and we'll take it down. But so far I can't see a reason why that would make sense. So, but it's, that's how it's structured right now.
Would a creator still continue to receive royalties as long as their content is on the site? Okay.
Yeah. And that's why we like this kind of streaming model idea as well. The Spotify model is that, you might put an album out 10 years ago and all of a sudden a bunch of people discover it. You're still going to get paid for those streams. So same thing here. If somebody else is, let's say I can't announce who it is yet, but we're actually working with a pretty well-known comedian who's got a big audience to bring comic series over. And the thing that got his attention was like, oh, I can land a punchline here, where it's real hard to do comedy in traditional comics. So at least that was his take. So we're working on that with him, and we think there's a pretty good chance that he'll be able to drive a larger audience to the platform and to his content. But the cool thing is, like, if your stuff is there, those people are going to read that thing. They've subscribed. They're going to explore the catalog. And if a bunch of those people find your thing, well, then you should get paid for that too.
Yeah. Cool.
Totally.
I like it.
Right. We're all
So
sometimes goes silent because we're all working and thinking.
I'm looking at Impact Theory comics. I can't see anything that makes them look similar to what we're doing, but it looks cool from what I can see.
Is it just a story on Impact?
It looks to me like they're an independent publisher. I don't think they're actually an app. So maybe they're doing. I have to do a little more research to understand more of what they're doing, but the books look cool.
Okay. Yeah, my websites, all my WordPress websites for where I had Cithra and where I had Phobos, not Phobos. Well, yeah, Phobos and Remind, all had been hacked and like cluttered with links and stuff. And I just didn't pay attention close enough to catch it fast enough. And so it just caused so much damage with all my pages that I had to just, the easiest thing was just to shut them down. And so that's kind of a frustrating part of webcomics, which I've always liked the idea of having my own home base, but at this point, it's just kind of becoming a hassle for me. And so that's kind of why, another reason I'm kind of excited about the Macroverse option for being the first place I'm putting some of my content, or even all of it, I don't know, is because I don't have to maintain it. I can upload stuff, but then I know that you guys are taking care of the website. And
just, and along those lines too, it's like, if there's stuff that makes that better for you, like, we want to hear about that. It's like, we want to really continue to build out this tool set where it just makes more and more and more sense for creators, and to kind of serve that place, or serve that purpose, as kind of being a home base or a hub for that stuff. So, later this year, we'll be bringing on, actual profile pages and creator pages. So you'll also be able to kind of direct people directly there, and they can see all of your series in one place, and, link out some of your other stuff from one kind of central location. So, kind of be another way to kind of get people engaged with you, not just your work, but also with you as a creator. So, we're always thinking about that stuff, and more ideas are better. So,
yeah. The thing I don't like doing with comics is just if I'm not using a website, like just putting it on social media and trusting these social media platforms. And so it seems like your platform is, well, it's focused on comics, obviously, and the creators and the content. And it's not, I don't see it turning into a Facebook or anything like that. So at least I don't think
no,
so.
100%. 100% not turning into a Facebook. I think there's a role for social media to play, mostly on the promotion and marketing side, obviously. But we're not interested in becoming a social media platform. Actually, I love your guys' take on this, but we've had a lot of internal conversation around, should we be looking to implement things like commenting systems and stuff like that. And I think, there's certainly some arguments for it, but I tend to, at this point, err on the side of, we don't want to have any way for this to become sort of a toxic.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Comments were really nice on a personal website, but they're kind of crazy and drama on things like Webtoons. And for the creator, when I would hate to go into the comments on Webtoons, because it was always just a comment from someone who was just passing through, almost. There was some real heartfelt, nice ones and genuine comments, but most of them are like, it's too short,
Right.
And so it would really affect me as a creator making the content. And because it's a social media mentality, like a consumption, like I just want more stuff, like give me. Right. And there's no desire to connect with the creator like there was on a creator's personal website. And all the comments there were very really, like, I could become friends with all those people. But all the comments on the Webtoons, it was kind of like, I just kind of wanted to avoid it. So I think it just comes with that kind of platform. So I can see how comments wouldn't be the best. You can direct people to the creators' platforms where they want to communicate with their fans that are the true fans.
That's kind of my thinking, is that, as we do build out creator pages and stuff like that, then it makes it even easier to connect with, like, oh, if you really want to get in touch with this person, like, go find them where they want to be talked to.
That makes sense.
As opposed to having to deal with moderation and, the nightmare is like, some kind of hate speech situation, or
then you have to make all these dumb rules in terms of service, of how the community handles themselves, and not dumb rules, but rules.
Dumb rules.
And then you pull down a stream because we're talking about H.P. Lovecraft.
Evan, you were talking a little bit about what was it? Where people would craft these stories through chats. you had a term for it.
Yeah. Oh, chat fiction.
Chat fiction. Now, I remember hearing, like, tell me a little bit about that and how it plays into Macroverse.
So it doesn't really play into Macroverse. It's more where it plays into Macroverse is we got exposed to chat fiction a few years ago, and so first of all, what it is it's storytelling literally through the medium of text messaging. So the way we've come to think about it is it kind of serves two things. It's like you're eavesdropping on other people's conversations. And or it's like you're being put in the shoes of a character who's having a text conversation. So actually, Jason, if you don't mind throwing me back up for a second, I'll show you what this is. So, here is, am I back up? Sorry.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So here is, I'll show you this real quick. So here we are in Macroverse. Here is, let's see, where are we? Oh, I've got to put that back up. So never mind. I'll do it this way. So here is the Yarn app. So Yarn is one of the two biggest chat fiction platforms. The other one is called Hooked, and they're even bigger. Hooked has kind of pivoted more into short form video. They're kind of doing some version of what Quibi is doing. But regardless, Yarn is still pretty focused on this chat fiction format. So, they got all these different stories in different categories. We did this series that I was talking about called Ascension, which is essentially this kind of the chat fiction shared universe. And then here's the Dead Town story that I was talking about. So if I go back, I'll just go back to episode 1 here. So it literally looks like a text conversation, chat conversation between characters. So as I'm tapping, this is all scripted dialogue between the characters, and it's just a different way to tell a story and bring you into the world. And so it's an interesting exercise from a writing and storytelling perspective, because you think about things like I don't have a visual on this character. How do I communicate who they are? And so even things like younger characters maybe use less punctuation than older characters, or younger character might use, one personality type might use more emoji than another one. So you're literally tapping through, and then you have like, oh, this character sent this other character a photo. Something bad happened at school. And so, it becomes this, kind of immersive experience. And this thought, the thought that we've come to kind of develop about it is you get this kind of 3 layers to the storytelling. There's this little bit of voyeuristic, element to it, where you're maybe seeing something that you're not supposed to be seeing because it's someone else's conversation. There's a little bit of a gamification element to it because you're tapping through it. And that is an influence on part of the thought process of kind of coming to the tap format. For Macroverse, it's like there's a level of activity that keeps you engaged just by the nature of tapping on the screen. And then there's also this element of like, as you're switching between characters, you find yourself kind of embodying that character because you're literally holding the phone that they're quote unquote holding as you move through the story. So yeah, that's what chat fiction looks like. And then, when we did this Ascension series, this is all live action. So this was fun because we got to cast it with like TV actors and stuff like that. And so you get the end of these stories, or different places within the story. And so we basically made a feature film that's encapsulated in these threads of chat fiction. And so you get to certain points where we get to do stuff like this. So here's an incoming call that wasn't answered. Oh, here we go. She still wasn't answering. Pick up your phone. So it becomes this, it's this kind of cool.
Yeah. You need to think about how you're playing this. This is nowhere near your case. Your job here is done, and how I report the rest of this to the captain will matter. I'm giving you some leeway here, but after tonight, you have got to be prepared to drop this. I don't see how. Tonight. What do you see?
Worst case scenario. Fuck. The woman?
Yeah. You know, you're not supposed to have that in here.
She's with me.
Okay. Yeah. Lana Davies. She's gone. Her throat was cut. There was one weird thing, though.
What?
The victim had some unusual marks on her face. Some kind of bruising. No one here has ever seen anything like it.
Anything else? From her husband or son?
Not that I heard of.
What about her phone?
Yeah, it's still on the floor next to the
Oh,
Good.
Katie! Katie, you cannot do that!
Her ex is with their 6-month-old. They were supposed to be here over an hour ago, and they sent one text running late. That was sent after Lana had texted saying that there was an intruder and they should stay away. I think it was him.
And we'll pass that on to the detective in charge.
I'm not letting this go.
Dang, that's intense. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, so it was a real production, but so anyway, it's just another example of like, that series could easily then translate into what's the comic story that could be told in that world, what's the social media piece that could reinforce the story that's being told in that world. So it's just a different way of thinking about storytelling. And then to bring it back to comics, you've got something like the Dead Town piece, which ties back into that series on Macroverse. So that's a crash course on chat fiction.
That's fascinating. I mean, like you said earlier, it really opens up a lot of different vectors for further exploration in different media outlets. That's really neat. Huh.
Yeah, I mean, I think, what I've discovered about myself over the past handful of years is that, it's like I always thought that the trajectory would be much more towards traditional, film and TV and traditional media, but I just become so kind of enamored and fascinated with all the kind of different things that people are not only trying, but that are actually working. Like, Hook, as an example, has 55 million monthly active users. So like, these are platforms that are, finding ways to engage people in new and interesting ways. And I just think we're going to see more and more and more and more of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then once again, it just opens up the opportunities for us as storytellers to really think about, different ways to express the things that we want to say and different ways to engage people and get to try a bunch of different stuff. So it's really fun to, direct actual actors for 8 months, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
Have you any of you guys in here heard of chat fiction before?
Yeah, I've seen ads for it, especially.
Yeah.
I've seen it used in games, but not comics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I will very not humbly say I think the stuff that we've made for it is pretty much the best stuff that's been made for it. But there's
quality.
What's that?
I said it looks really good quality.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also fun, and this is this does tie back into Macroverse in general and just storytelling in general. But the theory that we've evolved as creators over the past handful of years is like looking at each medium and trying to evaluate, what are the strengths of that particular medium. So, when you're writing for knowing that, in that case, we kind of had to invent this whole way of producing those videos where the actors are actually filming themselves because you're shooting it all on phones.
Yeah.
So they're paying attention to their own framing while they're performing, while they're, we're having to think through as writers and directors. We need to see the coverage of her going into the bathroom and picking up that phone, but it doesn't make any sense for her to be filming that. But she can hand it to the other guy that's there as a sort of like, moment of like, I'm going to go get this thing. You hold this because we're staying on the call with the other detective that's in charge. And that sort of makes sense in the story and it gives you that coverage. So it's kind of fun to think about those sorts of things as like, how do you turn these things that are challenges into a different or unique way of expressing something, or how do you turn the challenges into advantages is always the thought.
Well, it's a different way of it's like a first person experience.
Very much.
Almost like a video game, but not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Searching, but that was a movie that kind of did that approach.
Oh yeah.
Actually, really well done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another question here: does the content have to be portrait oriented, or will it work in landscape too?
For Macroverse, it is portrait oriented, and that's one of those things we've had a lot of debate about. Ultimately, we came to feeling that most of us do hold our phone in portrait mode, and there's not a huge advantage that we could find on the phone, at least, in going to a vertical orientation. So I think we have built everything where there already is tablet support built into it for the horizontal version, but it really requires two separate versions of the content. And at some point, I think what gets more interesting is not so much the tablet opportunity, but I think one thing we have been talking about and kind of toying with is what does an Apple TV version of this look like, where it's something you can actually sit back and tap through on a larger screen, or what's the web version of it look like. So I think there are some interesting things to think about there. But right now, I think going back to the kind of leaning into the what might be perceived weaknesses as strengths, I think by really orienting everything about one, lean into the portrait orientation, lean into the tap format as opposed to worrying about other types of transitions or other types of media, keeping it kind of fundamentally comics, but trying to push that version of it in more interesting and exciting ways. We feel like that's the place to really get it all nailed down. And then if we start to see over time, like, a lot more people want to read this, in landscape, then we can figure out how to tackle that. Or right now it's literally 95% of the people reading on their phone. So I think that's only going to continue.
And it kind of fits the comic page format.
Yeah, fits the comic page format more. And there's actually just something, in my opinion, that's just kind of nice about this is the way I normally hold my phone, and I can just seamlessly go in and read this thing that I want to read without.
It's non-committal too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's cool.
So for your for it, is there a like a restriction on content and other things like that? Because I know webtoons, they won't allow things that are like overly violent and other things like that.
Yeah.
So what are your restrictions on your content?
We're definitely not aimed at kids right now.
Okay.
So, we definitely have stuff that is all ages appropriate, but we're not trying to cater to or, say that we're aimed towards kids. So I think our general standpoint on that right now is it's twofold. It's one, there are some restrictions that are just inherent to being on Apple and Google. So, if it's too crazy, then, it might just be rejected for being on the app stores. But generally, we tend to, again, sort of go back to an HBO mentality where, a certain amount, depending on what the story is, if it makes sense in the story, a certain amount of violence is probably okay. Certainly in Dead Town, there are some gory moments since we're dealing with zombies. And I think, depending, again, hopefully it's appropriate to the story, but if, there's a certain amount of probably not overly explicit, nudity that we could probably get away with. But outside of that, it's really just, are we telling a story that's good, and does whatever those things that are pushing those boundaries, is it serving the story or is it gratuitous? And I would say if it's gratuitous, we would want to have a conversation about that. If it's really serving the story, then it probably works.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's like, dang it, I can't put my comic on.
No, what are you talking about? That's perfect. Mine's like a teen rated anything.
Yeah, that's fine. If it's kind of up to R rated, I think is fine. If it's much beyond that, we're pushing the boundaries in ways that we might just get rejected.
Another question: Sean Smith says, Eben, will Macroverse ever be a physical graphic novel publisher as a secondary thing and publish Macroverse digital comics into a physical format?
It is not out of the question by any means. So I do think the way I see this industry evolving is, I think, at some point, and I possibly sped up due to this pandemic that we're all in, as much as it pains the teen version of myself, I think floppies will eventually go away. So I think we're going to end up in a digital first world on some level, one way or another. And then I think the place for graphic novels is actually one of the things I love about what Jason has done is, these become real collectible, beautiful books that you would want to have on your bookshelf. Mm-hmm. And so I think, that's where I would see us potentially looking, is not with any real specific business plan of like every series is going to eventually become a graphic novel. But I think stuff that really, has an audience and has a fan base, and that, there's a demand for that kind of collectible, then I could absolutely see us, helping to facilitate that in some way. But it's not a core part of the business at this point.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've said this like 15 times now, and I just keep missing it. What does a person have to do to present their stuff to you, like in terms of being a potential, inclusion in all the work that's going on?
He's asking for a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell your friend. The easiest way for anybody that's watching this is you can just email me directly. So it's once again, Eben, which is EBEN. So Evan with a B. B as in boy, at macroverse.media. Or you can go to the website at macroverse.media, and there's a link there to submit, which is also just an email. And so, that at this point, I am mostly the one having these conversations with people. And, I kind of like to do a little bit of a deep dive with people once we see stuff that we like, and talk about what you want to accomplish with it and what we might be able to accomplish together, and figure out the best production process. And, every creator is a little bit different. So, right now, especially, we're trying to make it as friendly for each person as we possibly can. And that would be the process.
Just to piggyback on that with a different question, what level of completion are you looking for? Are you looking for finished stuff that you can start reformatting? Are you looking for pitches? Are you looking for
all of the above and more? So, the thing that we love, the two things I love the most are coming across stuff like Remind or like Hex 11 or like some of these other indie books that have got a bit of an audience, but have not reached anywhere near the audience that we think they should. And being able to work with those creators to bring them onto the platform and try to really make a bigger splash. So I love that process of kind of the adaptation of that. And then the other thing is, original material that's specifically crafted for the platform. And those are slightly different processes, but those would be the two buckets I'm the most interested in. But I'm happy to, basically anything that is good and that we like, and that, we feel like, oh, we could work together and do something with this, into talking about.
One more question.
Yeah.
When you see an email pop up, and you open it up, what's the first thing you want to see? Do you want to see like cover art? Do you want to see like, log line, pitch, what have you? What's the thing that's going to get you like the most excited to start talking back to this person?
Well, for you, Fuzzy, or for your friend, you can say,
I'm interested for myself, but I also want people to know so that you can get more good talent.
No, totally. Well, I mean, if it's coming off of this, then you can also say like, "Hey, I heard you on Jason's live stream," and that's definitely going to get my attention right off the bat. But initially, I mean, I guess I don't really have an answer to that. I don't have we don't have a real strict like, oh, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for everything, so we're not looking for like, oh, we want more fantasy stuff. We want more action adventure stuff. Like, we're not wedded to a particular genre. We're not wedded to a particular art style. So I think it's more of just reaching out and saying like, hey, I like what you guys are doing. I think that what I'm doing might be a good fit there. Here's an idea of what it is. And, some sort of visual is probably a good idea because that's, we definitely are concerned with what the story is, but comics are one of those things where I think people initially respond to the visuals. Seeing something is probably a good idea, but then beyond that, it's just, let's get a sense of what it is that you want to do. And then let's set up a time to talk.
Awesome.
And Evan, if you haven't seen Fuzzy's 3-issue thing on Webtoons, three update, what the short story on Webtoons, you should really check it out.
It's really good.
It's really good. It'll give you a sense of what he's working on.
Awesome.
And that's something that Fuzzy you were talking about could be a longer story.
Oh yeah, I have full plans to make that a long form story if I can make it happen. It doesn't have to be Webtoons, but
yeah.
But, yeah. I'm not very good at hawking my own stuff.
Join the club, buddy.
I don't mind doing it. I just seem to fumble through it,
Well, that's one of those things that they don't. Not only do they not teach it in art schools or those sorts of things, which I have an objection to, but it's also just unfortunately not a part of a lot of creative people's DNA.
Yeah,
definitely a thing that I've said 1,000 times. Just like I don't understand why this has to be a part of it, but whatever, I'll do it, I guess.
Yeah.
Unless your name is Todd McFarlane.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, unless you're a born genius,
Yeah, you kind of have to be a little bit of everything when you're an independent artist, creator, entrepreneur, marketer, savvy in multiple areas. So,
yeah.
So, what did artists do all day? Well, a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
Multifunctional. But yeah, I'm much more in the comfort of creating, and I never like to be like get in people's faces and be like, read all my stuff and look at all my stuff. But it's also like a way that you tactfully, it's part of getting it out there too. So,
well, I'll say, the thing, if this is helpful at all, I mean, the thing that made the biggest difference for me personally in that regard, and very much Macroverse aside, is just learning to kind of love the process of talking to people about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found even early in my career is that if I could, even when I really wanted or needed the project that, I was talking to someone about, it's like if I could kind of force myself to get into a headspace where it's like, we're just going to have a conversation about this. Like, if it's a good fit, we'll move it forward. If it's not a good fit, then it doesn't make any sense for me to try to make it a good fit. And trying to find my way into that headspace has always really worked out well. So it's like, the projects that have, even, when we were mostly work for hire, it's like, the projects that I kind of forced our way into, so to speak, and really weren't a good fit were always a nightmare. The ones that we could kind of approach as like, is this something that's going to give you what you want? Is it going to be good for us? Like, those were always great. And it's just, having conversations. It's like the reason that we got into the chat fiction world is I came across that yarn app and I found the head of business development on LinkedIn and I sent him a message. It was like, I think this is kind of cool. Can we have a conversation about it? I'm just curious. And that turned into, working with them on a bunch of stuff over a few years. So it's just, I do think it's like the more it can be less about selling and the more it can be about talking and meeting people and connecting around stuff that we think is cool, the better.
Makes it so much more fun too and enjoyable.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's only after you kind of talk to people you kind of get an idea if they're on the same page as you.
Mm-hmm.
You know? If everyone has the same goals, then and you get along, then man, the business part is pretty easy. You know, at least it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like an idiot, but like, you're all saying things I already should have known from working in cosmetology, right? Or cutting hair.
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of stuff I did every day. I would just go in and be like, all right, I don't have to agree with what everybody thinks, that's not right. If I find the thing that we agree on, then conversations with them is going to be so much easier. I don't know, did I just forget or something?
Well, it's your own work too.
Yeah.
So it's different. Go ahead.
It's no. I mean, I'm basically going to say what you're saying. It's different. It's easier. It's so much harder to stay in that space when you feel like it matters.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I had. That's what I've been kind of practicing my whole career. Is like, can I get myself in a headspace going into this conversation that I actually really do care about, but trying to really be there genuinely to just see what makes sense. And how do I connect with this person in this project, and do they connect with me around what I would want to do with it? And trying to get out of the way of like, no, I really want this. This would be so cool. Or trying to get out of the way of what they think is going to have some sort of material impact on me or my value or the quality of my work or any of those things. I think those are the mental traps that we fall into.
Absolutely. And it's neat because obviously, like, the more we got to hear you speak today and just see where you're coming from and even see some of your art, it's like we realize that you find so much more in common. It's like, oh, you're doing art too. You get it. And it's like,
yeah, thank you.
Conversations.
That's one thing that I like about Evan is he started kind of from the same place that I think we all started from. Like, I just want to tell the stories. I love comics. I want to write the stuff. You've had experience with it, and so it's like you have the same values and desires and understanding of the problems with the industry and all that stuff.
Plus, you said that you love Star Wars, so I'm on board.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just so much better than just a businessman who just has never drawn anything in their life. And we're going to start a comic company.
Crank it out.
Nothing more infuriating than somebody who has no idea what they're doing jumping into the business.
Plus, why would you do that? I mean, of all the things to jump into that you don't know anything about, why comics? Jeez, just to underline the fact that you don't know anything about it.
What do you mean you can't make a perfectly rendered comic every day? Huh?
Right, exactly.
You like that? Artists do.
Can't the computer do it?
Yeah, just hit a button in Photoshop.
Yeah, just push the button. Come on, push the comic button.
Make it look beautiful button.
Oh, I don't know if you answered this or not, but how did you find Jason?
So when we were just kind of getting everything up and running, one of the things I started doing was just, like, again, sort of looking for indie projects that I thought looked really good that maybe hadn't reached a broad audience in the traditional comic sense. And so one of the things that I did was just, went to Kickstarter and looked for cool projects. And that was where I came across Remind initially, and then Citra. And I think it was just an email from that was, hey, I really like this. Here's what we're doing. Can we have a conversation? So back to that approach. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting how much can happen just from like that simple, when people ask like, oh, how did you find your claim to fame or whatever? It's just like, I emailed somebody.
Yeah.
Stuff and thought it was cool. I think it's really interesting just because he's Jason, when you first contacted him, he was so excited about all of what you guys were doing and everything, and he was so excited that he kept saying like this thing I can't talk about. He was really excited about the thing I can't talk about. And it's really cool to see what it's actually like, to see it materialize after all this time of him hyping it and stuff and everything, to see it coming to life and everything. I think it's just really cool to watch.
No, I love that. Yeah, no, I love that. But it has, it goes back to it's like it has kind of become my favorite part of this whole thing, is just the people that we've had a chance to now meet and start to work with, and just seeing all the great stuff that's actually out there just reinforces the kind of central thesis that I think so many more people are actually interested in these types of stories and would read comics than currently do, if you take some of the things that are in the way of getting to an actual comic out of the way. And it's like there's a something like Remind, for example. It's like there's no doubt in my mind that there's there's an animated series there's other kind of cool opportunities in other media, but also just as a graphic novel itself, it's just so wonderfully executed. Just to fan out on Jason some more. But it's just, it's such a great book, and I've become such a fan that it's just exciting to play with it. And there's so much more of that out there. So that's so cool.
It's always funny when people ask me, it's like, so how are you going to get your book published? And you're going to go to a publishing house? I'm like, well, there's some new options these days.
Yep.
You get to tell them about that.
Well, not just new options, but like better ones. Like traditional, I mean, you said it yourself, Evan, like traditional floppies just aren't, they're on their way,
Yep.
to the old funeral march. And,
Yeah. Well, and I think, the other thing which I think is interesting in the world that we're in right now with the pandemic is, I think, there's been all this controversy about minor controversy, but DC going outside of Diamond, and how are people getting stuff to stores? And, number one, are there going to be, how many stores are going to be left? And, that's I think a real question. But it's, I think people are foolish if they don't think that, Marvel and DC are going to be fine. Doesn't matter what happens. Like, people want to read Spider-Man comics. People want to read Batman comics. Like, I guarantee there are people at Disney and at AT&T figuring out how to do digital comics for Marvel and DC.
Marvel just did something with their digital stuff. They just really pushed it.
Yep. Yep.
Hey, Evan, I don't want to come off as rude on accident, but you got to be careful about saying the P word and things relating to it.
The P word?
What P word?
That the stream will get shut off.
What P word?
I can't say it. What do you want?
What P word?
The situation that the country and the world is going through right now.
You can say pandemic. You can't say the actual name of the thing.
No, I've seen people getting shut down for saying anything that sounds like it or related to it.
So we need a code word, right?
Yeah.
Or something.
In this current moment of uncertainty.
Sorry, I didn't want to come off as rude. I just didn't want you to.
Not rude at all. So I just think to think that AT&T especially, or that Disney especially, is not figuring out their own solutions around all this stuff, despite what they're saying in public, like, that has to be happening. It's probably been happening for a long time, but it's exasperated by this kind of current moment. So then it really comes down to, like, what happens to the rest of the industry that's not gonna get, people are gonna need Spider-Man and Batman no matter what happens, even to Image and Dynamite and Boom and those guys. Like, some of that stuff will find a way, but and then you bring it down to the independent level, and it's like, you really have to be thinking about, like, how do you take control? In my opinion, you have to be thinking about how do you take control of your own destiny in whatever way makes sense for you to do it. And it's less and less going to be that, I think.
Never a dull moment, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions in the chat?
Oh, yeah, the code word is, this is the code word right here.
Yeah.
Baldemont.
You do have a question, a few, which is, do the creators have to draw in color and letter them, or can they be done by different people? If so, what is the payment model for that?
So no payment model for that at this point. So it is, we are essentially on an image model as far as the construction of the material. But otherwise, it's however it makes sense to get it done. So if you can do it all and you want to do it all, then great. If you have a team that you can put together to do the various roles, then that's great, or anything in between.
Mm-hmm. Question for Fuzzy. Do you use Google Earth for all your scenery?
Just for some of it, right? Like, if it's a real place, then why would I waste my time, like, going and finding a photo? And the rules are different when I've got, like, such a heavy deadline like I do,
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, if it's a fantastical place where, that doesn't exist, then of course I'm going to use my own brain. It's just, I'm on a deadline, man. What do you want? I feel like I'm getting beat up.
You have tools, use them.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Jason your thing about SketchUp in Cithra, which I thought was really cool as well.
Yeah, I like that. I like that technique.
That's a road I have yet to go down, but I keep it's like, it makes so much sense.
But I guess also the answer is still no, because I do SketchUp and photographs of my own, and I don't know.
Whatever gets the job done.
Yeah.
Exactly. What is going on? Okay. Huh. I hate going back and editing old images because I was like, what was I thinking? Like, what was I doing in this? I can't figure it out.
I know that feeling.
But you learn from your mistakes. You're like, okay, and now I know what not to do in the future.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm just gonna do this.
My timer went off an hour ago, but
I was about to say,
Eventually, I'd have to take a pee break, but I'm here for the long haul, I swear, in my normal life, I don't have this problem, but every time we stream, I feel like I'm I'm peeing for like 3 hours.
Sure.
your bladder knows, man.
I promise you guys.
it's the subliminal message in the word stream.
Yeah.
Oh God, you just said it, and then like I had this.
Oh no.
I think that was Pavlovian because I've kind of got the same thing.
Yeah, I'm not. It's funny, but I actually have to go. So I'll be back in a second.
I'm going to put on a little song. I'm going to put on a little song, and we can all go around and have a bathroom break.
Wait, don't mute him. We need the
Are you putting on the song?
Don't mute me. Are you hoping you can hear the stream?
Last time we could. That's why we mute you every time you go.
No way. That's upsetting.
Did you guys see? There was a I can't remember what city it was in, but there was a newscaster a couple weeks ago that was doing a report from her bathroom, and her husband was showering in the background the entire time, like in their glass showers, completely naked.
Oh.
Nobody caught it when it aired live on TV. Yeah.
That's the best thing I've ever heard.
Fuzzy, you'll never reach that level.
Whatever. I don't care. Everybody pees. What am I embarrassed about?
Challenge accepted. Yeah.
I'm gonna make it louder this time.
But we need the sound clip for the song. So go ahead.
There you go. I gotta play the song, so everyone go pee right now. Kids don't understand that. Kids don't understand that.
Wow, this is political propaganda.
Kids don't understand that.
Can't play well. Play loud.
And less than an hour of me.
Kids don't understand that. Kids don't understand that.
Apologies to everyone watching.
Kids don't understand that.
I just can't stop laughing every time I hear that. I actually like the beat.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of good beat.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's gone. See, I already took care of business earlier, so.
Oh, everybody is gone. What the?
Really?
Why did everybody leave?
Ooh, can we roll any pranks out here?
I didn't know this was actually like everybody was gonna go.
It's like, this is the chance.
Out of here.
Oh, one returneth.
No, everyone actually did.
Yep.
Pretty good.
Got to do some plumbing later.
That sounds exciting. Or a lot of work. Ooh, that was not what I wanted to do.
Lunchtime is up.
Sounds like lunch is being made.
Sounds delicious. The next problem, you gotta eat. Everyone will start getting hungry.
My lovely wife made me a sandwich, so I don't have to eat.
Ooh, I have leftovers in the fridge. Good feeling. What?
I think the best feeling is when you remember that you decided not to eat all the pizza the day before. So the next day you're like, oh wait, I have like leftover pizza.
Yes. Winning. That's why I like whenever I cook, I make a bunch of food because then it's easy leftovers.
Yeah.
Yay. Wait.
It's only a problem when your spouse doesn't like leftovers.
How could you not like leftovers? Especially if it's good.
Oh no.
Oops. Okay.
Some things we love them for, some things we
Love you, sweetie. I know I just threw you under the bus, but
She'll get to you later for that.
yeah, I'll get to talking to later.
Don't tell anyone I don't like leftovers.
I like how she has a real raspy voice.
There's a little echo. I don't know if you guys heard this little echo of a voice that came out. It's like, I hate leftovers. I was like,
Speaking of food, I'm gonna have to go make some food. So let's see.
Now at some point it's like, I'll get there. I'm not gonna faint yet, so I guess I'm good for a little bit. A little bit. Oh.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to head out so I can feed the husband and the cat.
He's like an animal.
Sometimes, yeah. But, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Thanks for letting me stream with y'all.
Yeah.
Nice to meet ya.
Boy.
bring it on mine when a guy gets cut in half. Sure.
What?
One of my immortal character is currently getting cut in half.
It's all right. It's not bloody.
No, it's not, because he doesn't really have blood in that sense.
Yeah.
But it's still like, it's like, whoa, So
Just in time for the kids to see it.
yep, just in time for all the kids to be like, oh my gosh.
Be like, yes, I'm getting that one.
Yeah. Mom, Dad, I want that book. Guy gets cut in half.
Duh.
Thing is, he's like hanging on for dear life on the creature while he gets cut in half. So,
Perseverance.
yep.
I know.
Poster, now we get a poster. Perseverance.
That one really hit me.
Your motivational poster.
Uh-huh. Perfect.
It could be like an anti-accident at work.
0 days since the last accident.
Yeah.
Could you guys really hear my
Yes.
bathroom activities?
That's the very first time we streamed together, that happened, and we all thought you had gone off to like get some water or something, and very quickly we realized it was not water that you were getting, because we heard the flush afterwards.
Well, there you go.
Yep. And ever since then, it's been an ongoing joke. Every time you leave, we mute you.
Fantastic. Great to hear.
Yep.
Definitely not ruining my self-esteem in any way.
We keep meaning to tell you about it too, but we forget. We're like, oh, Fuzzy, wait, and then you'll come back, and then we'll all giggle amongst ourselves. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. We giggle amongst ourselves.
No, I haven't.
And then when no one says anything, it's like we forget to tell you.
Yeah, or nobody wants to tell me because it's
Well, now
horribly embarrassing. But yeah, no, I was sure, whatever.
Fuzzy, it's just because we love you and you're part of the show. Got to entertain the kids somehow. Body humor is always an A+.
As long as I'm a part of it.
You are. You're the star. You're the star of that.
That's what you tell the guy that you make fun of the most, just so that he'll stay around. You know. You're like,
Yep.
No. You're the most important one.
Yeah. We need you.
Can't do the show without you.
You can't do the show without you.
The show really wouldn't be the same without that, section where you tell the world what you're doing. Ugh.
I didn't hear anything. I'm not even paying attention.
Well, that's nice of you to say, but I don't believe you.
The ongoing joke has been going on too long.
Oh, whatever. I'm not actually hurt.
Uh,
I shut the door and everything.
Are you going to jump on tonight, Buzzy, or are you taking the night off?
Well, I don't know. Am I allowed?
Yeah, you're in the group. You just got to confirm it when they decide what they're going to do.
hey, is there a way to watch this? Because I tried looking for it, and I couldn't-
I'll put a link to the channel, the actual YouTube channel.
It was incredibly difficult to find, and obviously I couldn't find it. So and I was like, oh,
For sure.
Chad.
Well, there's two different channels. One is from a guy named Chester Busby,
Mm-hmm.
and he does the fan edition, which if anybody wants to join that, they just have to sign up in the Discord. And this week they're doing the Han Dynasty. What is it? Is it Han Dynasty or Dynasty Warriors?
I think it's specifically I can't speak. It's a specific dynasty, but
I know it's the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Chinese dynasty, whatever that is.
Okay.
That's what they're doing tomorrow. Tonight they haven't decided quite yet. So here's the link for the fan edition. I'm do in the private fan edition.
Yeah. Roku. Yeah, and that was the problem is I think you put it in last time, but unless you grab it right then and there, it goes away.
Oh.
Do you want me to put that into the notes, into the chat?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
So people can follow the channel if they want to watch.
Chester
want me
Busby is the fan edition, right?
Yeah, this is the fan edition. And the pro edition, which is tonight on Mike's channel.
Blacklist Universe.
Mm-hmm.
See, and I looked there, but there wasn't any. Well, never mind. It was a day later, so maybe.
Oh, we're doing Justice League tonight.
Huh.
Yeah, that's tonight. Here's an actual link to the actual video because he already made it.
So is it like a scheduled live event?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I feel like I am so behind with all the Chucky stuff. I'm like, trying to figure my way around.
I'm definitely going to draw Batman.
I mean, I feel like that's the only one I care about.
Yeah.
The second link is the pro edition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the second link is pro edition.
I have to do some research, figure out if there's any other one. Because you can't do like 15 Batmans.
Yeah, you
Why
can.
not?
Sure you can.
Well, why call it Justice League at that point,
Batman League.
Batman League. I'm gonna go check the Discord because they usually have a conversation on there about what it's gonna be.
Him and Superman are basically the only important ones on that.
I don't like Superman at all. Sorry.
Neither do I, but just like.
I don't like Spider-Man.
All right, who said that?
What do you think? I'm joking. I know you have a whole entire.
Uncool, man. Uncool. Did you say that right into the mic? It didn't sound like you.
Yeah, no, I whispered it right into the mic.
I don't know if you can call that whispering.
Where's that voice coming from?
I said it quietly and softly, but since my distance from the mic was so close, I knew it'd feel uncomfortable. All right, I don't see anything.
How do you even get to the Discord to?
Okay, I'll put
Thanks.
Oh
Sorry.
my.
A bit.
Help!
Invite
You
people.
or someone else.
I'm gonna brains are gonna stop working. All right, here's a link to the Discord. You click on that, it'll accept you as an invite guest.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I didn't warn Fuzzy, but I'm gonna warn you this time. They're a bit crude.
A bit. He's doing a bad job of warning you.
Okay, Fuzzy, then you warn her. You warn. You have the knowledge, so you can warn as well. It's not my job anymore.
You are the warner.
I was my Christian boy ears were challenged that night. That first night.
It's one of those things that you don't want to announce when you go in there and be like, I'm a Christian boy, because they'll play on that so hard.
Oh yeah.
They'll be like, oh, is this too much for you? Is it too much for you? Beepity beep beep beep.
Hey, I used to do a lot of gaming, and as a female gamer, you get some interesting comments.
Yeah, well, if you're a female on that show, they'll already give you a hard time.
Yeah, probably.
Well, it's just because they're going to be like, we don't get females that often, so half of them won't know how to talk to you.
Are you real?
Yeah, no, I don't. They did an all female night one time, and it was horrible though.
Oh no!
It was just women being very
sassy and
competitive because it's competition. So
yeah, prove yourself.
Yeah. So that was interesting, but it's just I don't know.
Well, maybe I'll just observe and watch. Honestly, I probably wouldn't even want to draw anything that I'm not really interested in. So.
Yeah, no, it's a fun watch and stuff. I mean, the pro edition is the one to kind of participate in because it's like you're drawing along with a bunch of fun pros. And I'm not trying to throw the fan edition under the bus, but I just enjoy drawing on the pros a lot more.
I can do that.
I will say this. I think that was Chester. Is that right? Am I Chester Busby? Is that?
Yeah,
is that the
I'm
correct
waiting
name?
for you to finish your sentence so I can.
Sorry, I wanted to make sure that name was correct. Was he like ever a radio host or something?
No, I asked him that too. I was like, "Man, you have a voice for radio. What happened?" He's like, "No, I just started a YouTube channel like a year and a half ago."
But it's not just the tonality of his voice. He like has the sensibility of like how to talk. Like,
but he's a linguist. He's also pompous, and he's got a big ego. So he fits perfectly into that.
Well, then I won't say that to him.
No, and he has so many stories. The things that he's done in his life make you feel like you've done nothing.
That is definitely how I felt last time.
Yeah,
I was like,
he's a wealth of knowledge, and he's not afraid to expound upon it often.
I sat in my room and did nothing for years.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, I was in New York, and there's this time where I was working as a bouncer, and I ripped a guy's ear off, and it was like, what? What are you talking about?
The most interesting man in the world.
Yeah, he really. I don't know if I believe half the stories, but if they're true, that's pretty cool. Any artist is welcome to participate in those things. So I don't know, Jason, if you want to drop Discord.
There.
Huh?
How many people typically show up?
Usually there's a limit because we used to use Hangouts, but we're switching to Discord tomorrow. So it'll be a limited thing of 50 artists can join.
Okay.
So with that pretty much means anybody that wants to join can join.
And Discord supports how many people?
50.
50.
Yeah.
So.
All right. And I feel super silly, but Discord is basically like a StreamYard.
No, it's more like Skype, but not crap.
Oh, okay.
It's Skype for gamers. That's what it was built on, basically.
Okay.
Or Skype for streamers. I don't know.
Okay.
But it's a really good system. The people that do the support on the system are really good. They don't charge you like Skype. It's not. And the quality is much, much better than Skype.
Okay. I mean, I've heard it a lot, but I've just not delved into it at all. So
Yeah.
I'll ask how to figure. Finally, ask what it was about.
What I was going to say, Jason, if you want to drop the Discord link so that if any other artists that are in the chat want to join, they can. Because we're always looking for new people, new artists to come and you know, if you have something like a project you want to show off and stuff, it's a great place to show off your projects and what you're working on. And yeah.
Discord link. There you go. It is posted. Well, it's thinking. There it goes.
And is that link good, like, for the future? Like, it just keeps, like, it's not going to change.
I don't know if I can make permanent links. I know I can make temporary links because I'm just a mod.
Oh, okay.
So when I do it, yeah, this invite will expire in 1 day.
Okay,
But once you find it, you're good. Like, you don't need to, I don't know.
Yeah, I need to keep finding it again.
Oh, that's what I was doing.
Oh, you guys, I'm excited about this. Look, okay, I guess I need to put my screen on. I'm introducing a new character.
Dope.
And I bet you can't tell who it's going to be.
Nope.
Wait, what? That I must be mistaken. That can't be who I think it is.
It is.
Is it?
Why is he there?
Because I treat my comic characters as actors. They can play a different role in different stories.
Oh, so it's not him then.
It is him, but it
is him.
the same
Playing a
actor.
different role.
But it's you're killing me, man. I know what you're saying. I just I'm so interested now. What a great way to do things. Because like people get attached to like faces, right? Like some people just go to see a Robert Downey Jr. movie, even if it's terrible.
So it is the same character, not the character like as an actor.
Yeah, it's I'm going to just draw him the same way as in Cithra. But
cool.
he'll be
entirely?
No, he'll be wearing different clothes.
Well, I mean, that's kind of similar to what Doug does with that farmer that's in all of his comics.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He is a farmer. I don't know if his name is John or not, but he has this farmer that goes between all the Earthworm Jim and Bigfoot Bill, and it's the same guy.
Awesome.
And this poor farmer literally is throughout the whole thing is just like, please leave me alone.
People like that stuff though, like the idea of being able to say like, oh, they're actually the same person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man, 24.
Like American Horror Story too. I just like that ensemble.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you guys, I'm gonna have to go to lunch.
Yep.
And I've gotten enough done to where I feel good about myself.
Do you have to?
Oh.
Sorry, guys. I don't have my stream set up yet to just transfer everybody. I was supposed to get it done this weekend, but there was a lot of things I was supposed to get done this weekend.
I should probably go eat too. I guess real food is good.
Yeah. All right, guys. So head on over to Cognitive Drawing. We're at 41,700. And there's 20 hours left. It's going to end at noon my time tomorrow, which is Mountain Standard Time. You can also go to Macroverse Media.
Yes.
Right here. And If it'll load, my internet will do things at once.
That website.
Macroverse Media, email Eben if you have a comic that you want to see if we could just fit here. Start a conversation with Eben. Download the app too. It's only $5 a month. For the cost of a comic, you can get access to all these comics. What did you say, about 60 different comics you're working on right now, Eben?
Yeah, so we've got, I think we're about 20 that are live right now, and another 65 or so in various stages of production.
Wow, that's awesome. And if you guys missed the stream, Eben was answering a lot of questions about Macroverse. So go back and you can hear us discuss this whole platform and how it works and everything about it. And Eben will be back next Wednesday as we launch Remind.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thanks, Jason, for having me. It was great chatting with you guys.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Love seeing everybody's stuff.
Yeah.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Awesome. All right. Take care, guys.
All right. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
And to the rest of you, thanks for joining me again. And we'll leave with the wonderful song by Craig.
Yay.
One last time. All right. See you guys tomorrow. Kids don't understand that. Kids don't understand that.
Jason! Wow, this is political propaganda.
Kids don't understand that.
Jason! Can't play well, play loud.